lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, what is up, party people? Welcome to episode number 292 of Sports Cards Live. It is Saturday night, December the 6th, 2025. My name is Jeremy Lee. A few quick announcements before we jump on in. Fanatics Collect weekly auction ending watch party is tentatively back tomorrow night. I will be going to the Teddy Bear Toss hockey game here, the Calgary Hitmen. If I'm back in time, we're going to have that show. Stay tuned for that. If you are thinking of adding a grail to your collection, check out Fund Your Cards, the hobby's leading consolidator. Go to fundyourcards.com. REA's Fall Catalog 2025 Fall Catalog ends tomorrow night. I'm actually bidding on an item on that auction. Not sure if I will win it yet, but we will see. We'll update you guys on the show next week. Mint Inc. delivers the ultimate hobby experience from live whatnot streams and auctions to grading breaks and 2 full retail locations, including their new one in Ajax, Ontario. They do it all, and they're buying collections 7 days a week. Click the link in the description below and use promo code SCL5 for 5% off your first purchase. Shop online anytime with worldwide shipping. Mint Inc., where collecting comes to life. And if you're looking to sell your vintage collection, Leighton Sheldon from Just Collect offers competitive and transparent valuation and payment processing. Would love to speak with you. Email Leighton@justcollect.com. GP Sports Cards is your go-to for hockey breaks right here on YouTube every Wednesday and Friday. Check out gpsportscards.com for breaks and product drops. And Chronosio is offering flexible pricing. You only pay for what you need. Pay for 10 months. Get 12. Start managing your collection smarter at home.chronosio.com. That is Chronosio with a K. If you'd like to sell your cards on eBay but want to skip the hassle, message me on Instagram or email me at jeremy@slabsharks.com, and I will help you consign your cards to sell with Slab Sharks. And if you're including comps in your valuation work and you're already scrutinizing the numbers, or you are ready to scrutinize the numbers the way you should, some data is better than none. Card Ladder is what I use on the regular. Affiliate link in the item in the video description below. Check out the frontrowcardshow.com for shows and dates near you. And don't forget, the show is also available on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow for free, leave a rating or review. Greatly appreciated. And a huge thank you to all of our regular, loyal viewers and listeners. If you're not yet subscribed, take a moment and do so. As always, your comments and your questions are in play. Let's bring out, from Santa Cruz, California, Mr. Joe Perreault. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. Warriors just got an improbable win on the road, so they wrapped it up against the Cavs. Happy to see that, but all is well. Happy holiday season to you. How are you doing, Jay Lee?
I'm doing good. December is here. Lots of snow where I am, but, we're keeping the driveway clean. We don't let the weather bother us. What you can't control, you just kind of deal with and make the best of it. Things are good. Going to go to this Teddy Bear Toss game tomorrow, take the kids and what they do. And at some point during the game, after the home team scores, everybody throws a teddy bear onto the ice. They're all gathered and given to the children's hospitals and that sort of thing. It's an annual tradition. So it's going to be fun. The kids will enjoy that. And so we'll see if we get back in time for the Fanatic show tomorrow night. If we do, great. If not, well, we will be back the week after.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it's been good times. Couple sort of updates on the show tonight. First of all, Dan the Card Man has called in sick. He's come down with something, so he will actually not be joining us tonight, unfortunately. We might still touch on one of his topics, but the topic on the thumbnail and maybe in the title as well on artificial liquidity, we're likely just not going to get to tonight. So we'll save that. We'll get Dan rescheduled and we'll talk about that another time. As far as, selling cards too early, we don't really need Dan for that. We've all got those stories. We can maybe talk about a few of those as time goes by, hoping that Chris Hoge is going to maybe pop in for a bit. He's also under the weather. So, and I think he even mentioned that a bit last night on the crossover. So we'll see if he's able to join us. So otherwise, it's going to be me, you, Joe, and Josh will join us for the last hour later on. We'll see how long you stick around. We'll see. But whatever, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good show. And then lastly, I've been teasing to the Sports Cards Live community now for months. I think even back to as long ago as May or June that I've got something cooking. And I did recently let everybody know about the Pops and Comps book that I've been writing, and that is it's now in edit. So I've been saying it's in final edit, which was like my final edit. Now it's with an official editor. It's being actually edited. Should be done by Monday or Tuesday. We are getting close to Pops and Comps being published and available on Amazon. But Pops and Comps wasn't the first thing I started. I started a different project that I've been telling people about, or kind of mentioning that I've been working on something. And I'm going to tell everybody what it is tonight. Tonight's the night that I'm going to let everybody know what that project is. And so we will get to that. Stay tuned for that a little bit later. And so we'll get to that, Joe.
Right on.
Before I go to the comments, anything going on with you want to mention?
No, not really. I'm just excited to have you reveal something that I know you've put a lot of thought into. Even I think before the book, the germinations of this project began, and a lot of it emerged, I think, out of conversations that you've had on this show, that we've had together, that other creators have had. So I'm looking forward to seeing you roll that out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So I'm excited to share the what it is with everybody as well. All right, so your Warriors won tonight. My Calgary Flames had a shutout. Dustin Wolf back on his game, the goaltender, with a shutout tonight. Great to see against the Utah Mammoth. We've got the sports card professor. Good evening, Professor. Mike Petty was wondering if sports cards is a lifestyle. You know it is, Mike Petty. Come on. Jacob Dahl, happy Saturday to you. Outlaws, good evening. Laura is here. What's going on? Midlife Greg was gone all weekend. He's been home for 10 minutes, but he is here. Good to see you, Greg. David G, welcome. Foul Ball, welcome. Orlando, hello to you, sir. Jayhawks, we got Midget Mullet, good evening. Larry Gitlin is here. So Mike Petty says, looking good with the beard. You know how my internet's been wobbly for the last couple months? So I went to work on it, and I was doing all this maintenance on my computer today that I ran out of time to do what I like to do. I like to get myself kind of ready for the show. I'll, buzz the head, I'll shave the face, and I didn't have time for any of that today. So that's why you're seeing me all unshaven. Kinger, happy Saturday. Shaheen, what is happening? Good. Foul Ball says, I don't party. Rob Star, welcome to the show, buddy. Called Shot, good to see you. Jeff McMahon is here. Lots of auctions going on, says Orlando. Hey, yo, Mike Petty, Junk Wax Museum, happy holidays to you. Chris C, good to see you. Mike Double V is here. Midlife Greg spent the morning with Mike Petty, then swung through Burbank Sports Cards on the way to the airport. That's awesome. What a day you had, Greg. Can't wait to hear all about it. Yankees fan, good evening to you. Good to see you. Dan's Vintage is here. What is going on, Dan? Good to see you. Mike Sheehan. We got commercials. You know it. You know we do. Vintage Collector might be a challenge to keep the tone positive tonight. So much negativity in the news. I think we're going to find the balance. I think we will find the balance tonight. Vintage Card Collector. And yes, we're going to talk about some of the issues in the hobby. We do that. We're going to do that for sure. Petty is a fantastic driver, and that Trans Am is phenomenal. Ooh, I got to get my way down to see Petty for sure one of these months. The David Chase, good, you're here. You switched your name. Welcome to the show. Situational, good to see you here. Chris C just picked up a 53 Bowman color Pee Wee Reese. What a card. Welcome to the club. I love to hear it. Double D Dylan in the house as well. Welcome to the show. Dylan, as always, Found Treasures is here as well. What's Double D saying? Really enjoyed last week's topics about buying the cards from the manufacturers directly versus putting them in packs. Such a fun thought. Yeah, right. Good to see you, Dylan, as always. We got Ben Hostler here from Rolling Insights. What's up, Ben? Good to see you, buddy. Dog Food Soup, Chris is here as well. Hockey Card Exchange is here as well. Look at this. Dino is here. Jacob Dahl, Habs beat the Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada. Always a great Saturday. We like that in our house too. Hey, check it out. Mookie Chilson's here as well, everybody. Mookie is here. Skullball. What's going on, Skullball? And That's okay. And Bo Hot Left says, keep the beard. Bo Howlett, maybe. Bo Howlett says, keep the beard. All right. Well, I appreciate the encouragement. So, couple things, Joe. Where should we start? We got two kind of topics. One is, so last week, and as we know, lots of talk about shill bidding in the hobby. We talked about it here last week on the show, and I got a great email from a listener, and I want to share it because I got an email from a listener. And I wrote back to that listener, and I got both those emails teed up and ready to share. And I kind of want to just talk through them. I think they'll be interesting to the audience to hear this listener's perspective, and even just to hear how I responded, because I think it's important that people understand kind of where I come from, where any talking head comes from when we're talking about some of the challenges, I guess you can call them, in the hobby. So we've got that to talk about. We've also got this. There's a lot of talk right now about these PSA cards that were graded for a submitter to PSA. The submitter got his grades back. He got the PSA offers. He accepted the offers. These cards were all PSA 9s. Apparently they were 30 PSA 9s, and don't quote me on the details. I don't know exactly. I just know what I saw watching Junk Wax Hero Mike's video and talking to him about it. But so 30 PSA 9s, and then magically 11 turned into PSA 10s after PSA bought the cards, and lots of talk about what's going on there. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. I'm going to talk about what my special, clandestine project that I've been working on for 7 months or so. We'll talk about that as well. And a couple of other topics too. So Joe, what do you want to start with? The email? You want to, hey, mail days. Why don't we take a page out of the crossover, and we do this sometimes anyway, and talk about mail days. And I actually want to turn it over to you. Why don't you tell us about your card mail day? And I've got a picture that I can bring up and share as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
I sent you this image because I was pretty excited when I won it. And I was actually listening to you call the auction, but you didn't have this particular one on your watch list. So maybe that helped me, because after the fact, you put me in the dentist chair and evaluated the card in depth. But I think I got your blessing. But yeah, it's the completion of a flight, so to speak. I've got the T206 Cy Young portrait. I've got the T206 Cy Young glove shows with the blue background, and then last Sunday night at Fanatics auction, weekly auction, I happened into this rather nice T206 Cy Young bare hand shows to complete the trifecta, or the flight of T206 Cy Youngs. And
can I share it? Can I put it on the screen for people to see?
Please do.
Here it comes. Here it comes. There we go. Yes, there it is. Let's bring you back now. There we go. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about it. It's look at that grade and look at the card. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah. So, I mean, anytime I see a centered T206, much less a T206 doesn't have obvious creases, I'm interested. I'm curious. And then noticing that it was a 1, and kind of figuring that there'd probably be a lot of attention on the card, I just kind of kept my eye on it. And then as the second or third window came in, I lobbed my bid in, as I am wont to do. And pretty much the first bid I made, I kind of go like 2 or 3 levels over what it is currently. That's sort of my strategy, not to do just one above once the 5-minute windows start, and see if it can like shake the tree and yield the card. And sure enough, it did. And so, I got in pretty stellar price, a little bit over normal PSA 1 comps. But as you can see, I think the coup in this case is just like the color, the centering. Now there are issues with the card, as you would expect from a PSA 1, and I'm happy to go through those if we'd like. But before we get into the imperfections, look at that color, look at that centering, look at the image. Yeah, the registration, but like a little bit of tobacco juice down there on the back by the Q, just that little bit of splotch of tobacco juice that makes it's very real, it's very authentic. and has some tilt, has some interesting, construction, not atypical for the T206 issues to have a little bit of tilt or slight diamond cut, shape happening. But all things considered, I am extremely happy to bring this into the collection.
I love it, man. I mean, you remember during the show, like you said, I zoomed in on all parts of it, took a look. First thing I want to point out, and it was already pointed out here by one of our famous viewers. I just want to find the comment here that came in from where did he go? From the beautiful, there we go. The beautiful Mike Petty says, "So beautiful, Joe. Very honest corners." I think those are sexy corners. I'm with Mike Petty. They are just beautifully rounded. The color's amazing. The centering, lots of room under his name on the bottom. I like that when the card doesn't cut off right under the player's name in the city. The bottom right corner, like you mentioned to me, it's not perfect, but dude, if it was perfect, this thing would be a 3, and then you would have had to pay triple or quadruple what you did, and you still added a beautiful card. That little bit of tobacco juice on the back, just under the letter Q in the word quality. I mean, that to me is an added bonus. Like that to me is part of the provenance of the card. We all know these things came out of cigarette packs, but that's just kind of a trace of evidence of that right there. I love it. Like, to me, we should pay extra for a little bit of tobacco juice on a card. So I'm super happy for you. The chat is too. I mean, the comments already coming in are like, everyone's loving the card. And I want to, thanks everybody for that. But, Chris C., how come Cy Young never won a Cy Young award? Says it's ridiculous. Tony says, wow, that's amazing. The David Chase bid on that card too, Joe. He bid on it too, so he's happy for you. Situational, it says it's a beauty. BWS, it's a big boy card. Chris C., congratulations. Double D, you crushed it on that one all the way, dude. Like, congratulations from Hobby Hoops Hangout. The real Mike Petty says you need the juice on it. I agree. You do need the juice on it. BW says you should have held out for a 10. Real nice one from Skullball. Beats the rat bite cards anyway. Beautiful card from Jayhawk. Orlando, definitely beautiful. What's up, Dean Portman? Good to see you, buddy. Chris C. says that adds character. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. It's one for the good guys. That's right. And LRO is telling you have a beautiful Cy right there. So, Joe, I think you can, you've got everyone behind you on this card.
I appreciate all the chat accolades. And, afterwards, I mean, I don't have to tell all the baseball historians out there that, Cy Young was one of the original inductees to the Hall of Fame. What I think helps him more than some players from, the pre-war era is the fact that one of the most important awards in all of sports is named after him. So his relevance is going to be continued, year after year. Who won the Cy Young this year? And that will keep us in mind that the guy had 511 wins. So, I think about that in the land of vintage. What players will stand the test of time as we get further and further away? I want to believe that, younger collectors will be historians and look into the statistics to see who was historically meritorious. But Cy Young has that added advantage, I think, of just being kind of iconic because of the award that is now bestowed upon the two best pitchers in the American and National Leagues.
Yeah, I think those are great reasons why Cy Young will remain in the capturing the attention of hobbyists and collectors. Plus, these are T206 cards. The T206 set's not going away anytime soon. So. Spectacular card from Penguins Collector. Dylan says it sure doesn't look like what a 1 says in my brain it should look like, which, yeah, exactly. I agree. Hey, Mike Petty says Joe won the Cy Young this year. That's who. Situational wants to know, so what other players are on that list for you, Joe?
The list of the 5 inductees, or the just list of other players that I'd go after for flights? I mean, yeah, I'm in the pre-war era. I've had a little thing for Napoleon Lajoie lately. He's got more standard caramel cards. Cobbs are a little pricey, so I kind of look at those next levels down. I've always liked Rue Boisdel. kind of an interesting character. Again, I don't know if he's going to rise to the level. The standard Carmel Eddie Plank is a card that I would invite everybody to take a peek at, because the Plank in the T206 is obviously out of everyone's price range. So then you got to move to the Caramel card. But yeah, I mean, I could keep going. I could keep going.
Well, here's a question. Let's talk football. How did you decide on this versus the portrait or glove showing? But I think you have those, do you not?
Yeah, those are already clicked off. Got a portrait, got a glove showing. So this was the last of the three to complete the flight.
There you go. Thank you, Dylan. Well, thanks for catching it later. Thanks for dropping in and saying hi. Always appreciate that. And, I think Vintage makes a astute comment here that mid-tier and below Hall of Famers will continue to lose relevance over time. And there might be some exceptions to that, where does Larry Doby fall? Is he a mid-tier Hall of Famer and below? He might be, but I don't think he'll lose relevance. It might take longer than some of the other guys in that mid-tier and below, but I think Larry Doby is going to, if Tony Southern Collector has anything to do with it, Larry Doby will not be losing relevance, nor should he. That's what it might take, is our community to continue to educate and talk about and share cards of some of these guys who you don't want to lose relevance over time. That might be in our hands, for that matter. What do you think? You think we can make a difference there community-wise?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, storytelling is an important act for the preservation of culture in all aspects and all milieus, and in sports card collecting, I'd say that's true as well. And there's the story of the players, and then there's the story, as you were saying, of kind of the issue. And the T206 is such an iconic issue, and then you get into the complexities of the reverse, the multitude of reverses out there and how that plays into it, the factories, and that dovetails into American history and what was going on pre-depression in the United States, and how these things made it through those times. So yeah, I'm a fan of keeping things alive. I mean, and that grows true for modern and ultra modern too. I mean, you can just as easily spin stories of the importance of certain cards. First year Prism, color is got a lot to talk about there in terms of what happened after that, and then how those cards actually line up in the big picture of collecting. So yeah, I'm all for storytelling.
Absolutely. Chris C says Doby will not lose relevance as long as we educate the next generation. Larry says Doby has historical relevance with the AL color barrier. Absolutely. Orlando says it's up to us to tell the stories. Situational says Doby and Curt Flood are massively important. BWS says collect what you like and the world will follow. That's good. Jeff Willis says that's BS. We're 120 years from T206. So 170 years or 200 will be different. That's crazy. I don't know who said it would be. So I think you're probably right, Jeff Willis. Dan's Vintage says there are plenty of historically important players who might not be relevant to your average card consumer, but the collectors who understand the history of the game disagree. And that's the question. That's the nuance, if we will, there, Dan and Joe, is that will the collectors who understand the history of the game that disagree, will there be enough of them telling the stories to ensure that them disagreeing actually leads to something concrete as far as, not losing relevance? I think that's an important angle. David Chase says, if you look at the last few sales of Leaf Doby cards, he's not losing relevance anytime soon.
Cool.
And David G says, just correcting the record, Cy Young was not in the inaugural Hall of Fame class, but that's just semantics. And Hockey Card Exchange, it's okay, Joe. And Hockey Card Exchange says Larry Doby is always asked for at the shows. So, okay, maybe I just picked a bad example there, guys. I wasn't trying to pick on Larry Doby, but I was just thinking, like, he doesn't register like Jackie Robinson or Mickey Mantle or Hank Aaron or Willie Mays do. They're top level Hall of Famers. I don't think Doby's up in that echelon. I just don't think people know about him as much as they know about those other guys. For better, worse, right or wrong, that's not for me to say, but that's just kind of my comments there.
Did you happen to listen to the crossover last night?
No, I listened to it today.
Okay. Did you catch the part where they were reading the description of, I think there's a logo man, a Jordan and Kobe logo man. And in the description, I'm forgetting the auction house, but they referred to, the dusty old relics or something like that, as they described an ultra modern basketball card or a modern basketball card. And, just kind of have that pejorative thing in an auction house to differentiate a logo man. I just thought it was kind of hilarious. Do you remember that part of the show?
I remember them talking about dusty old mem or whatever, and they were laughing at that. And I was thinking that is interesting language to use in an auction description.
Yeah. Funny that the auction houses are using, because I think was it Heritage? Somebody in the chat will tell us what that auction was.
I think it's Heritage. Yeah. I think it was. Yeah. I think I remember them saying it was Heritage. Yeah. We need more Ryan Nolans in the hobby, says Jake's Toe. Yeah, Ryan's a great guy, no doubt about it. Jeffro here says, I would consider myself well-versed with the history of hockey, but I don't have too much interest in collecting guys that I never got to actually see play. Started watching in the early 90s. And that's fair. It's only, like going back to collecting players you never saw play. It's a step you take. It's not everybody's going to take it, but it's a step that some collectors take if you are just interested in the history. If you're not, that's fine. All the power to you. Doesn't offend. Doesn't offend me. Shouldn't offend anybody. David Chase says substitute Al Kaline. Yeah, thank you. Maybe I should have. I appreciate that, David Chase. Vintage Card Collector says, funny how so many in the group think baseball is the only sport when the word Hall of Fame comes up. Yeah, I don't know, but definitely there's more sports than just baseball. Chris C says posting Dobie and other players who are underrated to online card groups also can show the importance. And that's right. That's telling the story. I agree with that. I think we should, and some of us are doing that. Orlando does that all the time. Tony does that all the time. These guys are showing their cards, telling the stories of the players, making mini documentaries. Sean Cates, Victory Investments, does that every so often as well. Mookie says he thought that the dual logo man that you were just talking about, Joe, was Nat Turner's card. The description was taking shots at vintage, he says.
Right.
But Nat collects vintage too. He's got vintage packs and I think some vintage cards as well. Justin Bode, good evening to you. Youth is wasted on the young, they say, says BWS. Jim at the bank, is Frank Robinson mid-tier? You would think so based on his prices, if not what he accomplished on the field and in the dugout. Yeah, and Christy says he's vastly underrated. But look, Jeff Will says baseball hasn't watered down the Hall of Fame like other sports have, right? The Halls are very good. I'm not going to speak to that, but I think that does go on. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I just want to clarify. I feel very embarrassed. Let me wipe the egg off of my face for saying that Cy Young was in the original five. The original five were Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, Maddie, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner. So I sit corrected, and I don't know what you asked me, but all the baseball guys out there, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Everyone forgives you, Joe. Of course, Rage is in the building, everybody. What's up, Rage? Welcome to the show. Tony here says, telling the history is one of the most important things I do with my channel. It's beyond one of the most, it's like one of the most important things going on YouTube. Like, and not just, I would say not even hobby YouTube, all of YouTube, telling stories about these historical figures, as whether it's baseball or another sport, but talking about baseball, America's pastime, how important it is, and there's like a resurgence for it now. I think Tony's right, and what Tony's doing is something that is just wonderful. It's a great service, not just to the hobby, but to sports fans from here on in. Chris C says, Tony, you did a great job with that Joe Jackson. That was awesome. Situational calls out some Hall of Fame hockey nobodies: Dick Clapper, Hooley Smith, Roy Conacher. Yeah, Roy Conacher. Charlie Conacher is not nobody, but Roy, I don't know much about Roy Conacher as far as hockey Hall of Famers go. Well, Joe, congrats on the card.
Thank you. And mentioning Tony, I put in a plug too for Orlando. He tells a lot of amazing stories on his channel, Collector's Dream. But that's not to go back to the Joe Jackson one more time, but the story connected with Joe Jackson. That's one of the things I remember in the first couple days that you spotted that card. We were talking about how that story is going to stand the test of time, how that story of the Black Sox scandal will always have relevance, along with the fact that Joe Jackson was, on a trajectory to be one of the greatest, players of all time, and still is nonetheless. But looking for stories as we curate our collection and thinking about how we're representing those stories in our collection. I think that's one of the most fun parts of the hobby.
Absolutely. Orlando, who you just graciously shouted out, says, unfortunately, the hobby drama videos get more views than the history telling videos. Yeah. And maybe, you know what? I think I have a bit of a reason in my head why. And I don't think it's like well, let me just explain what I'm thinking. I think the reason for that, Orlando, might be that the historical videos are evergreen. They're going to live forever. You can watch those anytime you want. There's really no rush to watch those videos. Not to say don't watch. I'm just saying you can watch it today or next week or 6 months from now. Those stories don't change. The drama videos, the hobby drama topic videos, those things are changing weekly, sometimes by the hour. I recorded a podcast this morning with Mike from Junk Wax Hero for the Sports Card Clubhouse channel. And as he opened up the podcast with his first lines, he said, I was talking to Jeremy the other day, and we're like, well, there's really not much has happened in the last week, so we'll talk about this and that. And then after, an hour after we had that call, something came up, which was this PSA business, which we'll get to in a couple minutes here. So I think that might be one of the reasons why Orlando is maybe people just feel like, I can watch it whenever, I'll come watch that Joe Jackson or that Louis Tiant or whatever video later because they'll be there. And then maybe people just forget to go back, or they figure they can go do it anytime. And maybe that's kind of part of it. But Dog Food Soup, drama seems to beat historical in any form of media right now, though. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot say that I see that any differently. You bet, Tony. You do a great job, buddy. You do such a great job. All right. What else? David Snyder is in the house. What's up, David? Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. And Mike Petty says, I think it's okay that the drama videos get watches. It lets collectors that would otherwise not know what pitfalls to look out for. And that right there might be a really good segue into the next topic on our agenda today, which is an email that I received from a viewer after last week's episode. And so I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that on the screen, and I'm going to read it, guys, so you can read along with me if you want. I'm sorry, these are some long emails, but I just want to share them, and we'll talk about them. So I'm going to put them up. There is I'm sorry, guys, but let me just run through. Here's the email I received. It says, hi, Jeremy. I'm new to the hobby and new to your podcast. I enjoy your content and find it very informative. But in all honesty, I'm sending you this email, but I'd prefer not to be involved in any on-air discussions. The reason I'm sending this to you is because I have been noticing a disturbing trend around the subject of shill bidding. It appears that most of the people with podcasts seem to be generally in agreement that shill bidding is bad, and as an ex-prosecutor, I couldn't agree more. It is literally fraud. Initially, I was very pleased at the way people were responding to the shilling stories by completely condemning those who do so. More recently, I've been noticing a disturbing trend. I'll direct you to your recent podcast titled, Is Every Auction Shilled? For an example of what I'm talking about. I understand your podcast is not approving shilling, but I feel the language that is being used in this podcast and on those of others almost normalizes the activity of shill bidding. Noting that shilling is the reality of the situation and talking about every card as having an essence of shill, in it creates an atmosphere of acceptance and the practice of shill bidding. This type of language can only work to encourage those who shill. The reality of the situation is that shilling appears to be everywhere. If those who have a microphone and an audience don't use strong language condemning the activities, then people will forget about the issue and shilling will continue. Companies like eBay will only make changes if the public demands it. Even government prosecutors won't do anything if nobody is complaining. I fully understand that there could be any number of reasons why you personally and or professionally would not want to be on the forefront of the fight against shill bidding. And now I have to look behind my camera to read the rest of it. I only ask that you give some thought and make attempts not to use language on your podcast that normalizes shill bidding. Thanks for your time, and I really appreciate your work. I read the email. I thought he's got some good points. But I don't necessarily agree with what he's telling me, especially in the second bigger paragraph there. I wrote, go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to take at least some responsibility here. Not that we'll get to your response in just a second, which I know you take that, but for starters, it's awesome that people write to you this way in such a constructive way. I think this is refreshing to see somebody not lambasting, but reaching out in a way that is both expressing a point of view and inviting further conversation. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, especially in times when we're so caustic and opinionated in our responses to the point that we don't always, listen to each other. So, but I think it was a show where later in the evening we had been talking about shilling, and then we were just kind of going on and on and on. And you, I think, sort of mentioned that essence of shilling just as like, it's almost impossible to get around that. And then I re-amplified it when I was on Greg's show, Midlife. And then when I came back to your show, I mentioned it again. And so it's like, in some ways, I'm a little bit of the person who propagated it a little bit more than maybe you would have even. I don't know if you, because when I brought it up, I think just last week, you were sort of, I think you'd almost forgotten that you coined that term, essence of shill. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to mention that to take some accountability, even though, I have some responses to this, but I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah. And listen, I think, like I said, I think he makes some good comments, but I want you guys to listen to, and I have to warn you right now, my response back is longer than this email, but we'll get through it, guys. And I just, consider what I say back to him. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen now, and I'm going to read this to you. Thanks for writing. I appreciate anyone who is genuinely thinking about the health of the hobby. A bit of context from my end. Been in the hobby my whole life, been on eBay 25 years. I've hosted a ton of episodes over the past 5.5 years. The people who listen to me regularly know exactly where I stand on shilling. I've condemned it plainly, consistently. Nothing has changed there. Where we seem to diverge is in how to talk about it. You are concerned that acknowledging the reality of shilling normalizes it. My view is the opposite. The only way buyers protect themselves is by understanding what is actually happening, not what we wish were happening. If we pretend the market is clean, the only people who benefit are the ones who are dirtying it. When I talk about the essence of shill, or point out that shilling appears in the comp data that informs nearly every sale, I'm not approving it. I'm describing the world as it exists. Comps are influenced by shilled auctions. Cards are priced based on those comps. So yes, there is a trace of that influence in almost every transaction, whether we like it or not. That's not me endorsing it. It's me being honest so collectors can make informed decisions. I also say something else that I stand by. If someone wants to guarantee they never pay a price that is influenced by shilling, there's only one way to do that. That's leaving the hobby entirely. That's not an option for most of us. It is no different from someone who walks or jogs outside. The only guarantee they never get hit by a car is to stay indoors forever. Most people choose to live their lives, understand the risks, and act with awareness. That's the lane I'm in. That's where I'm coming from. Your note mentioned that you're new to, that's really I'll read it anyway. Your note mentioned that you are new to the hobby and new to the show. Welcome to both, and nothing wrong with that. But it does mean you have not seen the years of discussions where I've taken very direct positions against shilling. I've never softened the stance. I've only added the practical reality that shouting "do not shill" doesn't stop it. The bad actors know it is bad. Talking about the market as it actually functions is the only useful thing I can really offer. One last thing. Okay, my book's coming out, so that's it. If you're new to the hobby, check out my book. It might help you out a little bit. So, which is not out yet, of course. So the essence of my response is that I can sit here and yell and scream, "Don't shill." I don't think I'm going to get anywhere. I don't think what we can all send emails to eBay saying get rid of shilling, or we can boycott any platform that we think has shilling on it. That's a step towards not buying cards, or just buy cards in person at card shows from people online, that kind of thing. But I don't think that by acknowledging the reality that personally, me with my voice, that I'm doing anything anything bad. I think the more we talk about it, more awareness, the more we keep it at the forefront of our minds when we are out there buying cards, and we're training ourselves to look for it and maybe decide to step away from an auction that seems to have about a shilling. House of Cards, Billy Hausman put a post up on his Instagram story today with, looks like a bunch of shilling on this auction, and, showed the shilling, a video of him, screen share of him scrolling through. It's a bunch of feedbacks of 2 on eBay. Like, if we are not aware of it, if we forget about it, which I don't think we will, we might not go that distance and start looking for it more and being more aware of it. So I'm real, and I told the writer, I will not use your name, which I didn't, and I would not do that. I mean, anyone ever emails me, you want to talk about a topic, we can bring it on the show, and I will never disclose who you are unless you're a real bad actor. Then maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. But so yeah, that's the situation there. I want to thank that new hobbyist, new listener to the podcast, viewer of the show, for reaching out to me and, kind of like asking me, like, check yourself. And I did check myself, but I'm okay with how I handle this particular thing. And if anyone wants me to check myself on something else and I agree with you, I will change my ways if I think that makes more sense than what I'm doing in the moment. So all that out of the way, Joe, let's get your thoughts on the response. And while you're speaking, I'm going to scour the comments and see what the chat is saying. But I'm listening to you too.
Right on. Yeah. I mean, I think we are lucky enough, you are lucky enough to have a large community that has been with you on this journey for going on 5 years, five plus years. Yep. So anyone that sort of drops in right away and catches a fragment of, a 3.5 hour show where we're going down different rabbit holes and discussing things sometimes in the context of the latest news and drops and developments. Yeah, they're not going to necessarily have the full context for understanding, things that are coming out. And I agree, like this is being realistic, and I'm appreciative that the viewer, the writer, brought this up, because here we are talking about it again. And I would not want to normalize it. And I would want to call it out wherever we see it and have all of us be kind of the eyes of the world with regards to where we see bad actors. And at the same time, so as not to feel completely victimized by it, I think if you can acknowledge or accept that a lot of the comps that we all sort of at least refer to, maybe aren't gospel to us, but at least refer to, probably have some essence of shill. In some ways, that's empowering us not to feel like it's taking us completely by surprise. And again, the idea of essence, it's like, those Crystal Geyser essence of lime. It's like not everything is shill, but a lot is ever so slightly tainted from this auction, that auction, over multiple sales, and those can have influence. So embracing that, acknowledging it, and continuing to have it front of mind seems better than to just call it out without the sensibility of, as much as we call it out, it's still happening. Yeah.
No, I appreciate the comments and agree with what you said. Lots of comments from the chat. So let's have a look at some of those, Joe.
Yeah.
And let's talk football cards. I got your comment starred for a little bit later on. But let's start here with Chris says, more pitfalls in the hobby than the old classic video game by the same title, which I have. That's so funny. Hold on. I just got to, it's hilarious. Yeah. This one, is that the pitfall you're talking about? One of 2 video games I actually have on display in my office. Jim's Hall says, Abe said, you can't fool all the people all the time. Rage. No, Shaheen. Oh, no, we'll do that one later. Rage says, sounds like the person that wrote that email might have caught the shilling bug before. Good thing freedom of speech is a thing. Rage. Maybe he got shilled, which is fine. Or he's an ex-prosecutor and he's trying to look out for the hobby. But, again, if you haven't been taking in hobby content as much as we all have, many of us have, you just might not know where the conversation's at. And I think we can look past that. Dave Snyder says this just adds to the conflict of interest list. Slowly we will see big hobby influencers will be jumping ship to new favorite grading company. Tag grading could be looking at I don't even know what you're talking about, Dave Snyder. Chris C says this email is on target. Midlife Greg says Joe is an amplifier. He's always been that way. Rage says good points. Good thing it's your channel and you write the doctrine. Okay, Mookie Chilson, that was great. Thoughtful email. Dan says, I always interpreted Jeremy's comments as a regret about the reality of auctions in the hobby. I think that's fair.
Thanks, Dan.
Tony says, Jeremy was simply saying it is a reality that it affects everyone. Dan here said that it's more prevalent than we even realize, and we need to understand that. Exactly. Thank you, Chris C. says excellent points to Jeremy. Mike Ham says the issue is what we are finding out and now worrying about what went on and how long back it does go. I think it goes back to the beginning of time. So I hear what you're saying, Mike. I think people are now realizing that. But if we think about it, I think that this has been going on since there were auction houses in our hobby. Skullball says, I don't think it's being normalized in the podcast. It's being called out. I got an email from Heritage responding about shill bidding claims. Hopefully more are taking notice. Wow. And I've had some good communication with Heritage in this past week, and they're doing what they can. Jeff Wills, it's no different than stocks when traders conspire to paint the tape, fooling investors. That will get you sent to Martha Stewart prison. Good evening, Stooks from Fargo. Lonely Basement, good evening to you. Canada Blue says, are the shillers watching this? Will it make them stop? Nope. Orlando says shilling has been going on in the hobby for years and will continue, but needs to be in the forefront for newer collectors. I agree. Hello, Hodges. Welcome to the show. Bobby Burrell's part 2 of his Parkhurst History of Trading Cards will be posted tomorrow. And part 1 was phenomenal, guys. Check that out on the Vintage Hockey Collector YouTube channel or the Bobby Burrell YouTube channel. The first one was amazing. I loved it. Mike Ham says, eBay, PSA, and Fanatics control our hobby. Businesses have to stay in business. They have little options, if any. I don't know what you're getting at there, Michael Ham, but I'm curious. Hoops Hobby says, and if we don't discuss it, newcomers may not be aware of its prevalence and how to navigate the presence of shilling. Bob Boozle says, I'm new to the show, Jeremy. Why are you promoting facial hair? A good clean face is preferred. Canada Blue says, look, identify the problem you have. All the guys that are on YouTube like you should be the ones to put the pressure on places like eBay. What do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? How do I put the pressure on eBay? I mean, we can talk about it. I think we're putting the pressure on just by talking about it. Chris, he says, unfortunately, money seems to scream over anything else. eBay allowed Probe Steam back on their site. The consolidation of power is just 3, as Mike Ham pointed out. Mid-Atlantic says, it seems to me that the end result of shilling is that you are unlikely to get major bargains through auctions, and you need to give a lot of thought to what price you are happy to pay. Fair. Dave Snyder, Jeremy, you have always landed on the moral side of the topics you cover. Thank you, Dave. And if you want to clarify your comment before, I just didn't understand unless that's the clarification, then thank you so much. And the professor says, I agree with the emailer. The content, as is, you say, Jeremy, condemnation, but the tone is one of acquiescence and acceptance is what I heard. Sorry to disagree with you. Feel free to disagree with me. But the tone is, yes, I am acquiescing and I am accepting it because I can't do anything else except talk about it. And I talk about it. And we all talk about it. And it's still there. And I'm still going to buy cards. So yes. I also still go outside for walks, acquiescing that I might get hit by a car. And I listen, I have my earbuds in my ear. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to music. I'm going for walks. And I walk on the road. I walk on the road right in the middle of it because it's like I have a track. Like I have a track built in. And every time I go for that walk, I'm risking my life or at least injury that I get hit by a car. But I'm not going to stop taking that walk. And I'm not going to stop, yelling from rooftops, don't hit pedestrians. So,
and there's been plenty of times where your tone has not been one of acquiescence or, it's been of, indignation and upset. So I think that was a particular show, a particular moment. I don't know if it reflects the entirety of your sentiment.
No, I don't think it does. I think what you said, Joe, was just the willing to live in it isn't the entirety of my sentence. Yeah, of course it isn't. Like, yeah, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Well, and like I just to throw it into even further relief and context, like how much have we heard about shilling in the last 3 weeks, right? Like we have heard a ton. And within that, like if we are to move forward, if we are to sort of accept it without just, throwing in the towel and saying, well, I'm no longer going to be in this hobby, we will adopt different perspectives and in moments have different upwellings of emotion. And, I think we're emotional creatures, and in some ways, not that we're acquiescing, but just that acknowledging something in a way that is not having it completely victimize us all the time is one way to approach it. I don't know.
Absolutely. Okay, a couple more comments. Dave Snyder says, Jeremy, you've always landed on a solid foundation, a moral position. Don't change your ways and don't apologize for anything. Thank you, Dave. And I don't think I'm apologizing right now. Rage says, Sports Cards Live, #2 on his YouTube yearly recap again, and second only to Tiny Tim. Keep crushing, guys. Thank you so much, Rage. Really appreciate that. Dave Snyder says, that's what, oh, you removed the comment. Okay, I didn't even know, Dave. But thank you for clarifying. I do appreciate it. Jeremy wanted to spank me. I just didn't understand it. That was it. David Missouri, couldn't you put the pressure on REA, Jeremy? They have a logo in the corner of your video. Well, David Missouri, maybe you missed it, but I did, and they made changes. So something's working. I'm doing something. My voice is landing. I don't know that I can have eBay make a change, but I've had a relationship with REA for about 3 or 4 years now. And I did a show with Brian Dwyer, the president of REA, 2 Mondays ago, highlighting their auction that ends tomorrow, by the way, guys. CollectREA.com. Go check it out. I am bidding on a card in that auction. I hope I win it. We'll find out tomorrow. But I had conversations with them before we did the show because I had concerns, and they addressed them beautifully. So far as to say that when there is an auction with a reserve, that and if there was a bid placed on it by the active reserve, which is, bidding up to the system, bidding up to one increment below the reserve itself, such that the next legitimate third-party buyer will purchase the item. I said, listen, to satisfy me, and I think a lot of people, all you need to do is let people know that current high bid is on behalf of the seller. And Brian was like, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. So I think they're going to do that. So David Masseri, done and done. You just missed when I talked about it, I guess, or you didn't see that episode that I did with Brian Dwyer, president of REA. Shaheen says, Jeremy has always called out the wrongdoers and issues within our hobby. Not once have I heard him shy away from it. I appreciate that. Jayhawk says, discussions one thing, actions are better. The best action we can make as collectors is withhold our money from those individuals and entities we know are crappy. Turn off their spigot. Yeah, that's what I say. You want to transact in this hobby and never be the victim of shill and not support shill bidders. You have to stop buying cards, not just online, everywhere. Because as I say, that essence of shill starts on the auctions. Those auctions make it into the public comp database or eBay completed listings, whatever. And the card show vendors and buy it now sellers on eBay, guesses on social media, price their cards based on those comps, which have the shill in it. That's why I say the essence of shill. Again, you can stop collecting, or you can stop buying certain places, or you can just sort of, in protest and just buy the cards you really want. It's really up to you. So I'm not going to change my position on all that. I'm really not going to. So any thoughts, Joe?
No, I don't disagree. And I think we might have had a little internet vortex. I don't know if that's on my side or yours, but I heard everything you said, but a little wonky here and there. Hopefully that internet's stable.
So Vintage says that would provide much better transparency if REA did that. Hopefully others will follow. And the thing about REA is when we had that conversation, that's for the auction that ends tomorrow, there were like 9 or 12 reserve items out of like 3,500. So it's a minuscule amount. And Brian said, it's too late for us to go in right now and do that, like from a programming perspective. I said, well, can you do it manually? He said, yeah, we could do it manually. So they're going to figure out how to program it in their system moving forward. I'll take that as a feather in my cap on the anti-shill bidding movement out there, and go as far as to say that maybe I've had, like, listen, I'm not trying to pat myself on the shoulder here, guys. It might sound like that, but just because some of the spirit of some of the comments, maybe I've done more than most other people have done to combat shill bidding up until right now. Because I'm not just shouting it. We've had changes, and REA is not the only auction house that I've talked to that has made changes to their terms and conditions. Like 3 or 4 other auction houses made changes based on our conversations as well. So go ahead.
What the appendix you have? What are we calling it? The F26? What F6?
Appendix F.
Appendix F. I mean, this is becoming, a thing. Like, none of us have read it yet. Well, maybe a couple of us have read it, but Appendix F in and of itself, the fact that you have gone into that, I hope, is having an impact on auction houses auditing their own language, because I think sometimes, you have policies in place, you have your language, and then you just do what you do, and then suddenly years go by, and then you got to go back and look at it like, what is our policy? I mean, I live in that world in a school context, but auction houses reviewing their language about all of this in and of itself, I think you've had a part in that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you. Canada Blue, if you all talked about it and called out eBay, et cetera, to come on the program, if they don't push them and say they must be guilty to a degree, so buyer beware with dealing with them. Sorry, I don't follow the comment, Canada Blue. Mookie says, a hobby drama life cycle rarely ends with a large dramatic systemic change. The big change is the increased consciousness of the people who are paying attention. It's our job to make the change. Yeah, and if you're hearing me or anyone else talk about it, now you're in a better position than people who are not consuming any hobby content and may not be aware of the extent of the shill bidding impacts and the effects of it, and the sheer volume of it that goes on. So I'm pretty happy with how I've talked about it, what I've said about it, as far as doing my service to the hobby based on this platform. Canada Blue says, all fine that you've dealt with REA, but the main problem is eBay probes team go after them enough push to make them slow down or stop the smaller guys, and the smaller guys will fall in line. Those guys are not. So send me an email, Canada Blue. Tell me how I should go. What does go after them mean? What does go after eBay mean? Like, what do you, I don't be specific. Talk to me like I'm 6 and tell me what to do, because I really don't know what go after them means. And I want to know what you mean by it. What are the expectations being put on me right now? And not just me, on anybody who has a YouTube channel or, has a few people watch them every week sort of thing. Fourth, the game says, no reason to change how you inform. It's how we listen that can help. I appreciate that for the game. Bob Boozler says, unsheath your swords, keyboard warriors. Jeremy Lee will lead us to paradise. Well, I'll try to lead you to some clarity along the way for sure. Terry Brown says, REA is still shilling. They're just making it more clear they are shilling. It depends on how you define the term shilling, and really how you look at what I now refer to as the active reserve, because the active reserve is what I think Terry Brown is getting at. Terry Brown is calling the execution of the active reserve to be shilling. 90% of the auction houses utilize the active reserve, and it's been used for many, many decades and decades and decades. And you just have to know the rules of the game. Yeah, I say if you don't want to do business with any platform that utilizes the active reserve, stop giving them your business. Stop giving it right away. Stop bidding with them. That's your power right there. That's your power right there.
This active reserve, Jay Lee, like, what I'm curious about is, are we talking about, one or two cards an auction? Are we talking 10 or 20? Or are we talking like 40 or 50?
Every auction house I spoke to, Joe, they all do not want to have reserves. So this whole active reserve bidding on behalf of the seller up to one increment below the reserve, that people in our space consider to be shill bidding, because it is a bid being placed at by the direction of the seller. The seller is the only person who's directing the auction house's system to place that bid under the the guise of a active reserve. So that's what sorry, what was the question?
I'm just curious how prevalent it is in terms of numbers of auctions within a single auction.
None of them want to have reserves in their auctions. They all hate reserves, but they have to use them sometimes to win the business, because so the core root of the problem, the auction house allows for it by process and just the way the software works. But the root of the problem is that the sellers of the cards, they will rate shop, they will term shop between auction houses.
Right.
And it's like, if you want to sell this, whatever, dual logo man auto, you've got to, maybe give me a guarantee. Maybe you've got to put a reserve on it. You got to bid on it. Maybe you got to let me bid on my own item. There's that is allowed in some places too. So I think that the root of the problem is the sellers are being greedy, because they don't want to. Is it greedy, or they just want to protect their bottom? They want to protect the bottom dollar they're going to get for the card. And a lot of us in the hobby say, well, that's not your right. You don't have the right to protect the bottom. If that's the case, then put it out, put it as a buy it now, or start the minimum bid higher. Start the minimum bid. There's one auction house, I forget which one, where the minimum bid is the reserve. And to me, that's like perfect, but they're probably not generating the bidding wars that the sellers want to get them as much money. Because if you start the bidding lower, you get more bids. I think that's just kind of like a general rule of the psychology.
So what I wonder about is whether, like, I know you've got some high rollers out there, Tony's out there. He plays in some pretty deep waters. You occasionally play in some deep waters. I don't play in the kind of waters, I don't think, where people are going to be negotiating with multiple auction houses to see which rate and or terms line up the best with their opportunity to, put a card on the market. I suspect, there are people out there for whom that is both deeply troubling. It's troubling to me too, even though I don't participate in those auctions. So the shilling that I'm more worried about are people kind of more commando style, coming into the auction, bidding their own, bidding their friends. And I wonder if we're kind of conflating these somewhat different phenomenons. Certainly the term is apparently being used for both, but I think you're trying to distinguish that perhaps it ought not be used for auction houses doing what they're doing that would in theory align with their practices, their language in the terms of their auction. Whereas if you have friends, or if you're in some way or another bidding on your own card, that I don't think anyone agrees that would ever be okay.
Bidding on your own card. No. Yeah. That's shill bidding, right? The active reserve method is a way that I think they get around it. They get around shill bidding themselves because the system does it on account of this reserve sort of thing. So
do you think, I guess what I'm proposing is that they're different. Maybe they're not. I'd be curious what I see them as different.
Yeah, they are. I think they are. They're different to me, they're only different if it's transparent. If it's transparent that I'm going up against the owner of the card, I just want to know who I'm bidding against. That's really that to me. I can bid in any auction house, no matter what their policies are, if I know who I'm bidding. Am I bidding against a legitimate third-party buyer, or am I bidding against the seller, whether that is on eBay or Fanatics Collect or REA or Heritage or Golden or anywhere? As long as I know who I'm bidding on, I'm going to be able to make what I think for me is a better informed decision. Mid-Atlantic here says, when the auction house makers makes a bid on behalf of the seller, and that bid wins, does the seller pay the buyer's premium and the seller fee? Well, Mid-Atlantic, that can't happen in almost all cases because the reserve hasn't been hit. The auction house places their last bid at one increment below the reserve. So if no one comes in and tops that bid, the item doesn't pass. It doesn't sell. So there's no, I don't know if they charge them fees at that point. I don't know. But if if a seller is allowed to bid on their own items, and that does happen in some places, and they win, they pay all the fees, is my understanding. Yeah. Another comment, Canada Blue says, we will chat. He tells me that I'm concentrating on the 30-some auctions in my book. This whole thing started with Probstein, eBay, etc., not the guys you're talking to make changes. Yeah, so again, Canada Blue, you seem to have the formula for what I should be doing. Let me know what I should. Tells me I'm talking to the wrong guys. Give me names and phone numbers, Canada Blue. Seriously, tell me what I should do. You are my new boss, Canada Blue. I will take orders from you. Mike Cam says this newer information has to affect auctions. The top for 99% of the cards have been hit. Next is the new floor. Yeah. Petty says not only Probstein, but every other consigner lets shill bidding go on. No penalty or blocks to their customers. Not true, Petty. I know consigners that do block that do block shill bidders. There's one auction house, and this isn't an eBay, but there's one of those 32 auction houses that I cover in my book that they actually shame the non-paying bidders. So if you shill your auction on their platform and you don't pay for it, whether you're a shiller or just a non-payer, they call you out by name on their website. I thought that was pretty cool. Hoops Hobby Hangout, to what extent should enacting a change apply to sellers as well? I think sellers that want to speak with their wallets should not be consigning or sending to auction houses known for such activity. That's the problem, Hoops Hobby Hangout. The sellers want as much money as they can get for their cards in many cases, and they rate shop. In a way, they shill shop. They look for where they can they go to the auction company in many cases that will allow them to have the biggest influence on the final price. Yeah, I think that's definitely a part of the issue. There, Shaheen here says, imagine fine art collectors whining about how Sotheby's implements similar active reserve as well as a 27% buyer's premium. Yeah, that's the thing to consider. This active reserve thing is well accepted in other areas of auction. And not only that, but when I was talking to Heritage, whenever that is being done, they shout it out. Like they let you know that this next bid is coming in from the reserve or from an interested party, that kind of thing. So I still think the more transparency, the better, obviously, and of course. Okay, Joe, anything in all that? There's tons of comments here. I'm not gonna be able to read them all, but Canada Blue, LOL, Jeremy, come on. I'm coming on. No, seriously, Canada Blue. I mean, you can come into the chat and you can have these expectations of me, but don't just say go at eBay. Don't just say go at eBay. Go after them. What does that mean? Go after them. Have them on my show, and if they'll even come on. Hey, I want to have you on the show, guys, so I can lambaste you for your policies and the shill bidding. Maybe they would, and I'd be happy to do that. I'd be happy to do that. If they want to come on, eBay doesn't do that though. I've had eBay on shows before. You got to go through PR, then you got to go through VPs. They tell you what you can ask. I'm telling you, I can't eBay's not coming on my show and letting me ask whatever I want. And if I did that, well, then I don't know what the repercussions on me would be. They'd probably just never talk to me again, which I don't think is the answer either. And they're certainly not going to take advice from me. They're way bigger than at least with these auction houses, they listen. I have them in my favorites. I can call these guys, the guys that I know, not all of them, but some of them. I know these people, and they'll listen. eBay's going to be tougher for anyone to move the needle. They just had Probstein come back on. You think I'm going to make a difference? If I could, I would. I'll put it to you that way. Yeah, Mike Ham says eBay is not something you can go after. It's like the Hunger Games. Yeah, like I said, let me reiterate. I've had representatives from eBay on the channel before, years ago. the hoops you have to jump through to get them to come on, I'm not going to get anywhere with them on the show. But I could call him up. I do have a buddy D, but I can say, hey, bud, stop shielding. And he'll say, well, that's kind of above my pay grade. Like, we're talking about a monster corporation. Okay. So yes, and back to Canada Blue, whatever your name was there. Yeah, I was tongue in cheek telling you that you're my boss and all that. But I mean, seriously, if you have an idea for me that I am not thinking of, I'm all ears. I'll do whatever I can to help the hobby for the greater good. If I can, only if I can. So,
well, and you have actually, because I mean, the anecdote to major corporations and or things that you can't necessarily move the needle on is education. And you've provided education. You've informed listeners throughout the last many years, probably longer, on how to assess, like, on the eBay platform. There are more scrupulous sellers and there are less scrupulous sellers, and there are sellers that will wipe away a bid with a zero bidder. You set your own terms on eBay, so there are levels of kind of activity where sellers can be evaluated, and the more we understand how these things kind of look, if you are falling into something that could end up being challenging to trust, that awareness is what we're really actually, I think, trying to foster. That to me seems a much more reasonable way to approach the conversation. Arm people with knowledge, and then they can make wiser decisions.
Bingo. It's like when I walk home with my kids from swimming lessons, we walk home, and they're 6 and 8 years old, and we're crossing streets, and I watch them, and I say, hey, son, you just stepped off the sidewalk onto. You didn't look to the left. Look to the left before you step on the sidewalk, son. My son, my daughter, whoever. I'm trying to prepare them so that they know how to stay out of trouble. They know how to not get hit by a car. Raising their awareness, training them how to do that, letting them know that it could happen, because they don't even know it could happen. They're new to the world. So raising awareness, talking about it, letting people know that it's happening is I think the best thing that I can do outside of where I actually can talk to people who are in decision-making roles. So Jeff's Card Journey says, Canada Blue, I don't vote, so I don't have to go to jury duty. Situational Adventure says, tried to tell you in 3 comments above, eBay is doing something about zero review bidders based on what they did to my BIL. I don't know what what's BIL? I know that. I just can't think of what it is right now. Okay. Brother-in-law, maybe something like that. Yeah, maybe it's brother-in-law. Well, thank you for that, for trying to tell us that. Situational, I appreciate it. Orlando here says that eBay is like PSA. We can't tell them what to do. Like Cam says, eBay equals Amazon, Facebook. Good luck. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Mike Cam, Fanatic Shops, PSA, these are things we can put a dent in we can only put a dent in by speaking with our wallets. And that's how you protect yourself to a degree. You can't protect yourself altogether because of that essence that permeates the hobby, unfortunately. But again, I'm not going to stop buying cards I want to buy, guys. So if that's me throwing in the towel, then I owe you all my apologies. But I'm not going to be the guy who stops buying cards that I want to buy for my collection. So I'm just not willing to do that. Okay. Shall we move on?
Sure.
Chat, you good? You good? Canada Joe or Blue Canada, you good? I hope we're all good. Let's see what Dan says. Probstein is a runaway car bearing down on Jeremy's hobby children. I'll take hobby children. Don't bring my children to that, Dan. I don't want to put them in the way of a Probstein runaway car, but hobby children, that's a different thing. Okay. Wow, we're an hour 15 in, Joe. Lots of action, interesting stuff, important stuff, I would say, as well. Okay. We talked about that. Let's talk about this PSA business, what's going on right now, okay?
Sure.
So again, I don't know all the details, but I do want to share a couple things. So I'm just going to share my screen first of all with you guys. There we go. So this is, you guys know Mike, Junk Wax Hero. He did this video yesterday. He says it happened. PSA graded cards a 9, offered 9 prices, then upgraded them to 10 after they sold at 9's value. And by after sold, it means sold to PSA or somebody that is buying cards through the PSA offer program that goes straight out to submitters of cards for grading. After their grades are revealed, you'll get your grades back on PSA, and you might also get an offer to buy those cards right there and then. And somebody had, again, 30 Pokemon cards. They all came back PSA 9s. The guy took the offers that appeared when he found out they were 9s, sold the cards to somebody, whether it's PSA or someone through PSA. And then he sees these cards for sale with the same cert numbers, but they're graded a 10. And he wonders, why did my cards, after I sold them, move from a 9 to a 10? And so Mike, Junk Wax Hero here, put out a video on this. I recommend you watch it. It's under 9 minutes long. Here, Neo put out a video just under 13 minutes long. His title is PSA Swapping Grades. Sold PSA 9s, but they were actually PSA 10s. And Dan the Card Man, his title is PSA Buyback Scam, ? Cards change grade after selling. And then finally, this guy on Instagram, Ballpark Alex, put out a post. Now, this one's already from November 15th called the PSA Coincidence Nobody Wants to Touch. And it's about them buying cards. He put out a follow-up to this yesterday, but I can't bring it up. I was having some issues. Like, I just can't. If I try to, let's see if we can get it now. Okay, no, here it is. It's coming up now for me. Here's the part 2, the PSA Coincidence Nobody Wants to Talk About or to touch. So he says here, so when I said months ago, the PSA grading cards, they're grading them low, then buying them cheap, then magically regrading them higher once they own them was a real danger in the hobby. Well, here we are, because now we have a collector. He tells the story I just told. Is that proven corruption? He asks. No. Is that exactly the scenario collectors have been warning about? Absolutely. Whether it was an error, a coincidence, a reevaluation, the fact that the only time it benefited the customer was never, and the only time it benefited PSA was immediately, is the part the hobby can't ignore. And he goes on talking about it here. So Ballpark_Alex put that up on Instagram today. Mike and I talked about it. We recorded, Mike Junk Wax Hero and I recorded a podcast this morning, and we talk about it, among other things. And he's going to drop that, I think, on Monday or Tuesday, maybe even as soon as tomorrow, actually, he said. He asked me what my thoughts were. And I said, my thoughts are that, well, first of all, I don't know what all the evidence is. I don't know. I said, Mike, all I know is the video I watched of you. And then I found this Ballpark Alex, and I did watch Neo, and I did watch Down the Card Man. And they're all basically saying the same thing in general, just with their own unique spins on it, the way they deliver their content. And, I don't know what the whole story is. I don't have the complete set of facts to know if this was this a technological glitch? Did the 9s show before the grading was complete? Like, did some of the information get pushed out to the customer before final review? Like, there might be a plausible explanation for this. But if the grades really did change, my bigger concern is that 11 of 30 cards, the grade changed from a 9 to a 10. 11 out of 30. That's a 30%. That's a 37% failure rate. That tells me that 37% of cards graded by PSA are garbage grades. 37. If those 9s were the legitimate grades that they were pushing out to the customer, hey customer, your cards are 9s. Do you want to sell them, or you want us to ship them out? And then somehow, because I think what Mike told me was that this guy who did the submission, he went to Twitter. Based on his going to Twitter, PSA went and reviewed those cards, and then they changed the grades. Now, I don't know this to be fact. This is just what I've heard. It's all hearsay. I'm paraphrasing all those things. But if that's what happened, if 11 of 39s got switched to 10s after being looked at closer because someone spoke out on Twitter, then the bigger issue here to me, well, not the bigger, another issue here to me is that 37% of the grades coming out of PSA are garbage. They're meaningless. They're unreliable. They are not the grades of the card. That was one of my takeaways, and that's bothersome to me. But that's not news to me. That's not new to me. We know people buy cards and sell them and send them back in all the time, and a lot of people have a great success rate for doing that. I don't know what the rates are, but people are incentivized to do it, and they do it over and over again, paying the big money to do it, paying our insurance premiums because they're the ones paying them. Because remember, when you pay your insurance premiums to PSA, they don't benefit you, the person paying them. Well, they benefit you because you're going to sell your card for more because you're in the PSA slab, but you don't get the benefit of that insurance. The benefit of those insurance premiums that you're paying, also known as the upcharges, the benefits are received by the person, someone down the line who owns that card. And as somebody who doesn't submit a lot of cards direct to PSA, I don't pay those insurance premiums. I've never paid an upcharge in my life. Sorry, once I did. So as I say, keep on paying my insurance premiums, and I'm going to keep on buying cards on the secondary market that premiums have been paid on. And I'm just grateful someone else, because no one else, my neighbors are not paying my insurance premiums for my house, Joe. I'm paying those. No one else paying my auto insurance except for me, or my life insurance, just me. This is the only place where other people pay your insurance premiums, and I'm grateful to them for doing it. All right, Joe, lots there. Jump in if you don't mind.
Okay. I mean, I would say like you, I don't really grade with PSA. I've graded a few shows. I'll throw some at submitters, but I pay that PSA market value, which is kind of an upcharge in and of itself, right? If you look at it just in relation to other slabs out there. So that is what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's troubling, deeply troubling if this were to be the case that PSA themselves are regrading the card or throwing it in a new slab. But in some ways, I'm not surprised. I don't know. I'm certainly not surprised that 9s are turning to 10s, or that 10s cracked out might turn to 9s. That's not really news, I think, at this point. But clearly, and I don't have a whole lot of data other than it sounds like the news cycle has kind of covered it, and so maybe we'll learn more in the days or weeks to come about it. But yeah, I mean, once again, caveat emptor, be careful out there. Be aware of all the different, nooks and crannies and ways in which this hobby people can find to sort of usurp money. And not to get, completely cynical. Again, that's what we're up against as collectors, is how do we, in the midst of a hobby that's always had some slimy dealings. And now, I'm not going to call PSA the Death Star, but they are pretty significant and powerful entity in the hobby. And so it's good that people are paying attention. I salute the people that are bringing, if there are, interesting dealings happening, that they're bringing it to light so that we can evaluate it and speak to it and operate with greater awareness. Once again, education.
Education, exactly. Now, some good comments coming through, and I want to address them because I think there's a fact here to this story that now I remember hearing about it, but I didn't mention it. So I need to definitely mention that. So I'm going to just start. World Wrestling Collectibles says, why is no one telling the full PSA story that PSA canceled the buy, so the sale of these 9s, after this, and the seller got the 10s? That's great to hear. Yeah. And I apologize. That's really my bad for not saying that earlier. I just forgot about that, but that's a key part of the story and an important part. Doesn't explain how 11 out of 39s turn into 10s, though. That's a huge concern as well. Angry Card Dad says, Rattle Pokemon, Coach Co, and others in Pokemon world made videos on this with more details. Thank you for that. So you can search out, guys. You can search out and find more information on this. Vintage Card says, I thought offers on PSA were from other buyers, card shops. I think that's true. PSA isn't buying cards through offers, just making them available for others to buy. Fair. If that's the fact, that's fair. I will say, though, that it's still not a great look. It's not a great look that you don't know who's making the offer, or maybe you do. Maybe you do. So if the seller knows the name of the person making them the offer, which PSA probably won't give out because that would be like giving up a client list sort of thing. So they might not give that information. But if PSA is not sharing with the seller, the submitter, who the potential buyer is, who's making this offer, then you're gonna have people speculating it's PSA anyway. Like it's the potential for there to be a conflict of interest, whether there is or not. That's still not a great look.
Optics.
Dan's Vintage says, fraud or not, this is the kind of PSA conflict of interest that was talked about on this show months ago. We knew something like this was always going to happen. We have talked about it. Thank you for reminding us of that. Dan, Orlando says, the guy complained about the grades on social media and PSA regraded the cards. Well, that's all it takes. I thought you had to resubmit and pay more money to get a better grade. I didn't know that they'll do it for free. That's like that. Guys, don't forget that this is what you get with, just a very subjective grade. But yeah, Angry Dad said, no, Rattle Pokemon said the guy only found out weeks later by chance looking at a past submission. So that's now, so the facts aren't straight on when this all happened. 35 Auburn, not directly linked to shill bidding, but REA has recently won a couple court cases against non-paying bidders. Would be nice to see other auction sites do the same. It's good to hear. Good to hear. And then there's about 30 or 40 more comments that I'll just go through some of them here at the end. World Wrestling says, I believe the seller requested a review and during the process accepted a few of the offers. Okay. Jake Stowe said he only got the 10s back after he called them back. Otherwise, they would have been on the market as 10s. Mike Cam says, I worry that PSA employees are the problem and PSA takes the heat. Definitely possible. Definitely possible. Bob Boozle says PSA got caught with his pants down and no one is impressed. Jeff's Car Journey. Did PSA upcharge themselves?
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Let's Talk Football Cards says transparency. We need it from PSA. Absolutely. From everything, on everything that they do. How are they valuing your cards? How are they grading your cards? What does like authentic mean when they won't grade it? When they just like, what does it mean? What are you like? We're paying for a service, but you don't tell us what you get. Like anytime I take my car in for a tune-up, I get a report with check marks beside what was wrong. Like give me something. They call it grader's notes. Grader's notes they don't give you a full set of grader's notes. At least the ones that I've seen. And I've seen lots because I've solicited for them. Professor says, I've accepted 7 offers in my PSA vault and PSA never shared who the offer was coming from. So lack of transparency. Okay. Lots there, guys. I mean, yeah. And Vintage here says, correct. When you take offers, you don't know who's buying. Again, more transparency is the theme and needs to change. Jeffro Blaze, I wouldn't think PSA would buy the cards themselves. Too much of a risk in holding. They are fine just taking the percentage of the sale and giving the higher grade to boost the sale price. And 35 Auburn says PSA will collect the money, but have outs for nearly every situation. They made an error. Even when it's obvious, Trim McDavid, RPA, and others, PSA can just ignore the issue and say the item is good. Or what they say is, it's an opinion. We're just rendering an opinion, but it's not the PSA opinion. I don't, that's the thing I kind of realized earlier today, that it's an opinion, but it's not a good one. Like it's not a reliable one. It's not one that can be replicated because 37% of 9s turned into 10s apparently on this particular batch. And I get it. That's only 30 cards. It's not 30,000 or 30 million. Mike Camp says Nat Turner used to be out in the ether and then he's disappeared. All right. So there's that issue in the hobby right now. And I readily and happily admit that I am not the most well-informed on this issue. So please, I laid that disclaimer at the beginning. I lay it again now. There are people out there doing much better job reporting on this. If you are interested in learning more about it, you can definitely do that. So, okay, Joe, there's one more topic off the agenda or handled, at least for now, until we get some comments that bring us back to it, which could definitely happen. So yeah, go.
What topic is that, Jay Lee?
Well, there's one more like criticism I have, and this is going to be directed at Upper Deck. I have a serious criticism to throw at Upper Deck, who you'll also see their logo right up there. But that's not going to stop me from sharing my thoughts, what I think about it. So let's do that one, and then we'll do what my project has been that I've been working on. So this goes back. This has to do with Upper Deck, the Cup, their highest end product. It just came out, like $2,000 a pack, basically. And the first time it came out was 2005-06. And one of the things that Upper Deck does is, I don't think that their marketing department speaks to their product department on a regular basis. Or
you turned your mic off, I think.
Yeah, by accident. Sorry. I don't think I don't think marketing talks to product in a timely fashion. And and the reason I say that is because they recently put out their marketing solicitation for Upper Deck the Cup before the product actually hit the market this past week. And on there, they had a picture of like one of the product hits. It was a 2003 Exquisite Tribute, Wayne Gretzky 1/1 patch auto. Big card, literally could potentially be a six-figure card, I would think. And the picture that they put out on their solicitation was a beautiful picture. A beautiful patch, an Oilers patch with oil drop from the Oilers logo, which is really the sweet spot. It's what everybody wants. And a beautiful, beautiful Wayne Gretzky autograph. Well, that card got pulled on like day one of the product. Looked nothing like the picture on the solicitation. I'll share them both on the screen in a moment. Now, I said it earlier that, the Cup's been out since 2005-06. And I remember seeing in Beckett magazine in 2006, maybe it was even 05, when they were marketing and advertising this new brand called the Cup, this new high-end product. It was $350 a pack back then. And I saw the Sidney Crosby RPA, and it had as the patch, the whole head of the penguin was in the patch on the mock-up that they were advertising. And I can tell you, because I kept a database of these patches. I've seen like 75 of the 99. They're all simple, like from a number. There's yellow, black, and white. Nothing from the logo itself, just from the names or the player's name on the back of the jersey or the numbers on the sleeves. That's where all the patches came from. So since 05, Upper Deck has been soliciting a product with images that are not existing in the product itself. Now, this case of the Gretzky has an additional level of depth to it. And Orlando nails it right here when he says the Gretzky auto was horrible. I'll go as far as saying it's a complete disaster. It's a disaster of an autograph. And so let's share it. Let's show everybody what we're talking about here. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Okay. So on the left-hand side on the screen, guys, if you're listening on podcasts, you can't see this, but on the screen on the left is the solicitation image. Beautiful 3-color patch. That orange on the left is part of the oil drop from an Oilers jersey. The autograph is beautiful. Nice gold pen. You can read pretty much every letter and number on Gretzky's beautiful signature. On the right-hand side is the actual card that came out of the pack. That is supposed to be that card right there on the left. Now, the patch is actually, I believe, from a pair of gloves. Still pretty cool. You got 2 colors, all sorts of stitching, layered leather. It's a pretty cool patch. I'm not really disappointed by the patch, but look under the patch at that autograph. It's a disaster. It's all smudged. It's barely there. It's like it was the end of the pen. It looked like garbage. Joe, were you going to jump in?
maybe I shouldn't now, but I'm just going to say, I mean, I know with those autos and the wet pin, like things can happen. And if something happens, like you're trapped there, that's the one of one, right? I mean, maybe there's no road back. I don't know. Go on, keep on.
Yeah. So listen, I think you're right. But a couple of things like, okay, first of all, before Wayne signs this card, you gotta test that pen on the same card stock. You got to send him a dummy, a decoy that is this black stock and say, hey, Wayne, before you sign the one of one, that might be a 6-figure card, sign this and then sign the card. So there's an easy fix to avoid the problem. Avoidance. They didn't do that. They missed the opportunity to avoid this even being a problem. But then what happens? They produce the card. Card looks nice. They get Wayne to sign it. Wayne and his team send the card back to Upper Deck so they can pack it out. Upper Deck receives it and they look at it and they say, oh, well, he messed up the auto, but we're going to put it in the product anyway. So right there, they had the option to pull the card out of the pack out, maybe put a redemption card in and say like, listen, this is a product hit. This is a 6-figure card. This makes us look horrible. This makes us look like we don't care. This makes us look like we don't care whoever pulls this, that the autograph isn't even there and it's smudged. That's my concern. I love Upper Deck. Everybody at Upper Deck, like these are my friends. These are people that I talk to all the time. Like I love the people at Upper Deck, but they dropped the ball on this one. All they had to do was pull it. I know a redemption suck, but this is the case for a redemption. This is why you have a redemption. Remake the card. Yes. Spend the money, remake the card. And I know I'm not one to usually say that because, you've got to, production has moved on to other products for other clients. You got to retool the production line, all these things that have to happen. Even if it costs them $50,000, remake the card. It's going to cost them $1 million. Remake it next year and put it in the product next year. Put it out as a redemption this time. There's many things that could have been done instead of putting this abomination into the product. And listen to all my friends at Upper Deck, and I know you're listening because this is one where I just have to speak out on it because I would like to see this not happen again. So, yeah, I mean, this autograph, could they have wiped the autograph off after Wayne signed it? Like whoever's there, because these autographs are, first of all, they're verified by Wayne Gretzky or somebody who's with Upper Deck. I don't know who's in the room when Wayne signed this. If there's no one from Upper Deck there, well, there's nothing much they can do. But even Wayne would know. Wayne has been working with Upper Deck for 30 years. He knows that this is no good. Maybe Wayne needs to be slapped on the wrist as well. They certainly shouldn't pay him for this autograph. Whatever they pay him, this one should be deducted. Maybe it was deducted. Maybe that money could go towards remaking the card. They should recall this card now. Now they should recall it. Whoever owns this card, put a recall, send it back, bring it to us. We'll send you a prepaid shipping label, whatever it is. Send it back, remake the card for whoever owns this card. That's what I would like to see done. Are they gonna? I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. There's my issues. These are my issues with this card. And yeah. So Joe, any further thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned the part about, creating the redemption card possibility. The only thought that was going through my mind is that sometimes people have deadlines and, they feel like they got to deliver the product. I mean, Carvin used to talk about that a lot and all the challenges on the creation side of things, the timing of it all, trying to keep things in rhythm. So this is not my bailiwick, and I don't want to necessarily judge Upper Deck, whose cards I've enjoyed for so many years and who I think are, a real, icon in the card creation world. But that said, yeah, this would be hugely disappointing. I had a Noir Curry gold pin auto. I didn't hit it, but I purchased it quite long time ago. I think it was like a 2015 or something. And it was smudged. And that's actually how I even bought it, was the fact that it was smudged. And I always wondered, I ended up selling it because over time I just didn't want it in my collection because of the smudged auto. But I always wondered, like, what happened in that moment? Was it when Curry was signing it, or was it after Curry signed it, just wet enough and somebody did something with it and it smudged, the auto? Yeah, you'd be pretty disappointed if this is what you got, and maybe Upper Deck will make it good.
Maybe they will. I mean, I'd love to see that, because the fact that this is floating around out there, it's like this card would not, and people might laugh at me, but this card would not be welcome in my collection. Like, if I pulled this straight for sale, I have no interest in this card.
I'll take it.
I don't collect cards with faded autos or autos that look like this. This auto is like, I would never be happy looking at this card ever. So I wouldn't want it, but I'm sure. Listen, whoever pulled it, congratulations. Someone called 300 Breaks pulled it or something. I don't know who their customer was, but it's like, you'd be like, celebrate. It'd be this extreme high and then this extreme low as you see it being revealed from the top. You're like, oh my God, exquisite auto patch black. Oh my God, Wayne Gretzky. Oh my God, 1 of 1. And there's like, oh my God, what is this disaster?
Wah,
wah, wah, wah. Exactly. Mike Ham says Wayne should know better as well. Bob Boozle says this would have never happened with a sticker auto, bro. And that's right. Dog Food Soup says someone is going to pull an autographed out of 10 version with a beautiful gold autograph on the back. Right. There are versions of that out of 10 with a silver auto. And the paint pens they're just too thick. They don't look good even in the silver. Mookie Chilson, sorry, that's older now. 35 Auburn says, yikes, Upper Deck should remake that for the person who pulled it, with all the differences between the photo, the serial number font, the patch, the auto. The actual card looks like a counterfeit. It looks like a botched job. The actual autograph, the actual card looks like a joke. It looks like a joke. And to me, because I love Upper Deck and I love the people there, it's like, why are you letting yourself be represented by this? How do you let that out the door? So listen, that's it. Those are my comments on that. And Mike Petty says, I would give it to my lawyer. Yeah, I don't know what kind of case you'd have, unfortunately, Mike, but I mean, it just depends. Like, when these solicitations make their way out on, they put them on the Upper Deck Facebook page and they promote them. Like, I'm not a lawyer. But I mean, it seems like, is it false advertising? Is it bait and switch? It's something, it just doesn't seem right that the solicitations do not reflect what you're actually going to get. And if you're going to go buy this product for $2,000 a pack or $1,500, whatever it is, and you're going to buy it by the case, you're spending 5 figures and you can't even get what's in the marketing material because those were just pretend pictures. To me, that just is not the right way to do business. Just not the right way to do business for me. And we'll see. Hopefully I'm still friends with the people from Upper Deck after this episode. Okay. Thanks for the comments, guys. Not going into a bunch there. I think we all know that this is just sort of a sad situation as far as the reality of that card. Okay, Joe. Let's talk about my project. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rage. Rage loves Upper Deck, by the way. Yeah, I mean, they do make the nicest cards. There's no doubt about that, at least in my opinion. Okay, so guys, yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and some of you weren't here then, but you are now. I've mentioned a few times over the past half a year or more that I've had something cooking. I've had something cooking in the background. I've been working on something, and I'm finally ready to tell you what it is. And it's not the book. The book Pops and Comps is something else. It's my other project, my 2 projects that have been working sort of hand in hand here, been developing them over the past, really since about May, whatever that is. I need a sip of water. One sec.
Drum roll, please.
Well, before we get to that, Joe, I just want to mention, like, we have a lot of people in our chat right now. We have people who collect cards. We have people who invest in cards. And like I always say, we all exist somewhere. You know, you got collectors over here. You got investors over here. Like the people who only collect are over here. The people who only invest are over here. And all of us lie somewhere in between. We all fall somewhere on that collector investor spectrum, right? I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
And like there may be a few, like Foul Ball in the chat. He might be a pure collector, but I think very few people are pure only collectors that don't pay any attention to the value of their cards. Foul Ball may be the only guy I know who approaches the hobby that way. Investor wise, we've got people we know that are only in the hobby to make money. They don't care about the cards. There's no nostalgic connection, no history. Cards are widgets to them. They are simply units of inventory that they can earn profit from. Those would be the extreme investors. Everyone falls somewhere on this collector investor spectrum. Now, I've been talking about this collector investor spectrum for years here on the show. And I've made this, I do this all the time. Guys, we all fall somewhere up here. So one night on my walk back in April, maybe, I was thinking about it. I was thinking to myself, talk about this collector investor spectrum a lot. Why don't I create the collector investor spectrum? Like, let's actually build the framework for what is the collector investor spectrum. And I'm proud to tell you guys, 7 or whatever months later here, it's been built. The collector investor spectrum has now been created. There's a website called thehobbyspectrum.com. That's the platform that's going to house the collector investor spectrum. You can't get into it right now, guys. I'll warn you right now. It's gated. This is in early beta. And right now there's only 7 or 8 people who have actually found out where they fall on the spectrum. I'll get to that though. I'll get to that, guys. What it is a 50 question diagnostic tool. Let's call it a survey, or I like to use the term assessment, but we can call it a survey for just convenience. It's basically, it's not a survey. We're not really surveying you for anything. You are answering a set of questions that will result in a placement. We can call it a score from 0 to 100. And that 0 to 100 is the spectrum. And everybody's going to fall somewhere on that spectrum. If you go to thehobbyspectrum.com, you can go in and you can actually put your email in to get on the waiting list to actually do this thing. And you'll go in, you will complete the assessment, and then you'll get your results, which will be your score out of 100, your profile that you fit into. So the collector investor spectrum has been separated or divided up into 7 archetypes from collector to investor. Now I'm going to stop right there. 7 archetypes, 7 profiles of collectors. But Jeremy, there's a million ways to approach the hobby, not only 7. Well, there's actually more than a million. There's an infinite amount of ways to approach the hobby. So the collector investor spectrum is the foundational spectrum on the hobbyspectrum.com. And it is basically your core archetype in your approach to the hobby. In future versions, and as this thing grows and updates, more spectrum, I guess I could call them like modifiers, will be added that will give you a more granular mirror into yourself as a collector. But at the beginning, the MVP of this website is the collector investor spectrum. So again, 7 archetypes that I painstakingly developed. And who wants to know what they are? Would you like to know what the 7 archetypes are, Joe?
I would love to know.
Let me see if I can actually bring it up and show you, because I can get into the website and I can show you. So here we are. I'm actually going to share the site with you guys right now. Now you won't be able to get in unless you have an access key, and the access keys are, again, it's still in like testing, but I'm pretty confident with how it's working, but I don't want to be overconfident. So here are the 7 archetypes. From the far left, I'll show you in a second. We have the purist. The purist. Now, take 100 and divide it by 7 is about 14.2 something. We have purist. Beside the purist, we have the nostalgic. Beside the nostalgic, we have the precisionist. The middle one is called the hybrid. The next one to the right is called the builder. Beside the builder is the operator. And the extreme right is called the tycoon. Those are the 7 archetypes that have been developed on the hobbyspectrum.com. And each of these archetypes come with a lengthy, detailed profile description of what they are. So many good comments coming in. I want to address a bunch of them. So I'm just going to star a couple right now because they are very kind of on point here. Like Jeff's Card Journey, LGC, Chris C has a comment I want to get to. Peace out, Jim Scholl. Okay, I'll start with those ones there. So those are the 7 archetypes, and I'll just, let me just go here for a second on the side, and I will show you. So here's a sort of a view of it, and this will give you a little glimpse into the website itself. So there it is: purist, nostalgic, precisionist, hybrid, builder, operator, and tycoon. There you have it. You can screenshot this, whatever you want. You can read that later. I'm just going to take it off the screen for a moment now. I'm going to go to the home page. I'm going to show you, like, on the home page, once you can get in, you can see this. These are the 7 archetypes with a little bit of, a little 3-word caption, a little bit of a longer description, but there's a full essay that describes each of these archetypes once you complete the assessment and get your results. So basically at the top here, discover your collector identity, take the comprehensive collector identity assessment that shows where you land on the collector investor spectrum, the core identity map within the hobby spectrum. Ready to discover, you can take the assessment, or you can browse the spectrum directory, which is something that once you've taken the assessment, you can then opt into the directory, which is really a way to make connections within the hobby with like-minded people. So that's basically what I've been building and working on. Now, a couple of comments here. First of all, Jeff's Card Journey says, I hope you didn't use the programmers who built the Snipe website. I did not. The company I worked with on this is called Inferno Red Technologies. They're the ones that built this. I've been working with them since August on it. They've been working on it since August, and they did just a killer job. I think it looks great. I'm very happy with it. And they're the ones that work with several. They work on the NBA. They work on Upper Deck. They work on DC 87. They work on ComC. A whole bunch of other clients. They're a big software development company, and they built this, which couldn't be happier with the job that they did. Chris C says completionist. So completionist is something that is going to be built in. There's so many approaches to the hobby, as we all know, that 7 buckets do not cover it. It's just not sufficient. But at the beginning, that it's going to have to be. But we're going to, over time, add what I'm calling these modifiers, these add-ons, these additional layers of discovering and really honing in on everybody's approach to the hobby and how to describe it. So I think of it kind of like this hobby is fragmented. There's no shared language, right? You can ask anybody, hey, what do you collect? You meet somebody that you're standing at a booth, at a vendor's booth at a card show. You strike up some small talk. What do you collect? How long have you been in the hobby? We ask these questions because we want to get to know people. We want to know what are you doing in the hobby? What's your angle? Well, if you were to say to somebody, hey, if you want to put it this way, are you on the hobby spectrum? You're on the spectrum. What's your archetype, or where did you land? What's your score? You can ask these questions. Now you have an idea about who that person is and how they approach the hobby, and what they say might make more sense to you. Not like what they say to describe themselves, but other conversations about how they see the hobby might become clearer if you know a bit about them. So it's about having a bit of an understanding with each other. It's about, I mean, there's so many things that it's about that I've thought about over time. But it puts a language to our hobby instincts. You'll discover, where do you land on this collector investor spectrum? I've said before that it's something that no one's ever done before. I've said that it competes with nobody in the hobby, and it's something that everyone in the hobby could use. And now you see what I'm talking about. I don't know that anyone's done this before, and I looked for it. It doesn't compete with any other company in the hobby, anyone else in the hobby, and everyone can do it. So you can discover where you land. You can it'll help you maybe sharpen your focus if you understand your motivations a little bit more. If you read into your archetype, you can maybe build a more rewarding, more intentional collection. It can help you with intentional collecting, starting better conversations with people, that shared language to connect and respect where someone might be coming from if you want to respect them. And you can maybe be part of something that is like hobby defining sort of thing. Like, it's not a quiz, it's a step towards being more self-aware, less judgmental, and have a more fun hobby. That's kind of what it is. But it all stemmed out of me sitting here year after year, putting up my two hands and saying, we all exist somewhere on this spectrum. Well, what is this spectrum? And can we build a framework for it? And that's what I set out to do. And I feel like I've done it. And I can't wait for you guys to all get on it. Go do it. And it's free. You don't have to pay. You can just go do it. Once you have access, you can go do it. People have asked me, well, why are you doing this, Jeremy? What's the angle? How are you going to monetize this? I'm not going to say I've never thought about it, guys, but when I first shared the idea with some trusted confidants, one of them said to me, how much are you charging for this? And I was taken by surprise. I was like, nothing. It's going to be free. Well, I'm not going to charge for this. And that's like the intention behind it, or were my intentions behind it. And the initial foundational collector investor spectrum placement, I intend for that to be free. There is investment happening here, though, so I would like to recover some funds at some point along the way, and maybe it'll be these deeper, more just these additional insights that will be able to happen. I don't know, maybe partnerships. I don't exactly know. I built this feeling like, let's build it. Let's build something that's awesome for the hobby. And if money comes back, great. If it doesn't, I've just had so much fun doing this. And really, how did I, do this and write a book? Well, when I met Inferno Red Technologies, which happened at the National, actually just happened after the National. At the National, a couple people might remember that I was saying, hey, do you know a software developer? And I asked a couple people who had built software in the hobby if they knew a software developer. And I asked Tim Getch from ComC. I said, and I thought, do you know somebody that could build? I didn't tell him what it was, but it's like, I got something I want to build. I think it's going to be awesome. Do you know anybody? And at first he's like, not really. And then I ran into him later. He goes, actually, Jeremy, I want to put you in touch with the guys from Inferno Red. And I'd met these guys. I met them at the Beckett Industry Summit back in 2021, I think it was, or 2022 maybe. And so they knew who I was. They were familiar with Sports Cards Live. And so I didn't meet them at the show, but we met online shortly after. And I basically was ready to pass off all the inputs to them so that they could build it. And I did that in August. And I've been working with them here and there since August. We've been having meetings and how's it coming and showing me what they've done. And, but when I passed it off to them, that's when I really accelerated the book, because all of a sudden I wasn't working on this anymore. I had all this time freed up and I was able to focus on the book intensely, really since mid-August. The book started earlier from that, but I got intense on it then, and 10-hour days sort of things. But anyway, that's it in a nutshell, Joe. I mean, Joe's known about it from the beginning as one of my trusted confidants and somebody who I, bounce ideas off of on the regular. Did I miss anything? Anything else do you think I could share, or that you'd like to share, Joe?
No, I mean, I'm excited for you and proud of you, and believe that people will enjoy engaging in this. Kind of reminds me, my dad always used to, you know, throw the Socrates quote at me: "The unexamined life is not worth living." And this is a way to sort of hold a mirror up to your own collecting and your own almost disposition or collector persona, or hobby persona, because there are definitely people that are more in the investor side and more in the collector side. And yeah, it's been exciting to see the idea take root, and to offer feedback from time to time. But you've put in a ton of work into this, and thoughtfulness, and I know it's not done. You're still growing the idea, but I think it's going to be a really cool way for people to engage in the discourse, and to kind of tease out more and more kind of who they are as people in the hobby. And this is not a conversation that has existed in a your own silo. I mean, it felt like for like the last 3 or 4 years, this concept, the dichotomy between collector and investor, was coming up again and again and again and again and again. And we've talked it on this show many times. We've kind of hushed it a tiny bit over the last 6 to 8 months, knowing that you've been working on this, although you sort of tease it here and there. But previous to that, I mean, it was a really big topic. And I think you've always been very fair in your own analysis of kind of considering the nuance, that like to consider yourself just one or just the other. And those people are out there, but for most of us, we exist somewhere on the spectrum. I know in my own collecting journey, I've transitioned probably a little from the extreme of collector into a bit more of the investor side, even though I'm not sure if we're talking about numbers yet, but I'm on the half of the side that is more collector. But I think I've probably transitioned there just partly by a byproduct of having more and more cards, as well as getting up there in years where sometimes my resources are needed, and or consolidation is important. So yeah, that would be, and I know there's a couple questions about consolidation on there. There's a lot of areas that are touched, and in certain moments in taking the survey, the questions, I found myself at odds with myself. I might answer one question one way and then go, wow, if I'm going to be consistent there, do I need to be consistent there? And we're not always perfectly consistent, which is one of the complexities of human beings. And that, again, that self-reflection and understanding how you're set up, what your goals are, where you're going. I think this, as you said, as a diagnostic tool, could really, shed some light on people's own sensibilities, and maybe offer them greater awareness, and maybe have them, after taking the test and sitting with it a little bit, go, wow, okay, that's reflected back to me now, but I actually would rather be a little more this way or a little more that way. So, in that sense, the diagnosis, if you will, may set us on new paths, or new kind of journeys that lead us into new realms. It's not a fixed thing.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so a couple of things, like this isn't like scoring a 15 is no better or worse than scoring a 95. It doesn't matter where you fall. It's about who you are and how you approach the hobby. What you want to get out of the hobby should be who you are in the hobby. It's not that's why I don't like using the word score, but that's just an easy term to use. It's like, it's a placement. Where are you? It's not about, now there's two takes on like the aspirationalism. It's not about moving up or down the spectrum, but some people might find that, hey, you know what? maybe I'm a nostalgic, which is second from the left, and I want to move towards precisionist. It might give you something to aspire towards. But in the terms of aspirational, one of the layers that are going to be added, and one of the early layers that are going to be added, is what I call the maturity progression. It's going to be maturing within your own profile. What can you do to become a better purist or a better tycoon or a better hybrid, whatever it is? What can you do to be better at it? And it's not like it's not me giving advice. This is going to be all community driven sort of thing, right? It's like when I was talking to Mike earlier, he's like, yeah, when I have someone on my podcast, I'm going to say to them, hey, what are you? Or I'm going to ask them to take it before they come on so that we can talk about it. And I can say, hey guys, I'd like to introduce Joe Perot to the show. Joe is a nostalgic, or what are you again? I forget. Tell me.
I'm a precisionist.
Just like me. You're a precisionist too. So, Joe's a precisionist. Like, to me, that's going to help set context for the upcoming discussion and let people know a bit more about Joe before he comes on. So, okay, I got some comments starred. We're going to get to them. Josh has entered the chat, and Greg is one of the first people to do it. Only 6 or 7 people have even done it so far. Greg was one of them. Joe was one of them. Myself and a few others. Josh, are you wanting to join us now? Ready. All right, I'm going to bring you on. What is up? How are you?
Good evening, everybody. How are you, Joe? Jeremy, what's happening?
Doing good. Have you caught any of the episodes so far?
I started it like about an hour ago, so I watched for the past hour.
So hang tight. Let's go to some comments on this, and then we'll get your thoughts on things, Josh, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to try to find the top one here. LGC says, I'm in Chris Sewell's Blazer department. Yeah. Well, it's funny because Chris has developed a spectrum for card condition, just like a grading scale. In a way, it's sort of similar, but it's different. Situation says, the result, make connections in the hobby with like-minded people. That's one of the results. Mike Ham says, Jeremy, you build a SaaS. I think so, Mike Ham. I think it's sort of like a SaaS. I forget what that means. Software something. Software as a service, I think it means. Chris says, I'm a mix of several of those archetypes, and that's key. I think not all. Many of us are a mix of all of them, but we're going to have a dominant. We're going to have a dominant one. I think maybe some of us are going to be even, and in that case, responding to the survey, the assessment is going to be very challenging. You might find yourself like, I don't know which answer to pick. But every question and answer was painstakingly developed. Probably have 8 hours into each question alone over time and iteration and all this stuff. Double V says Myers-Briggs for collecting. I mean, that was the Myers-Briggs personality index was kind of my guiding light throughout the whole thing. Was like, that was part of the inspiration for it were these more traditional personality tests. Let's Talk Football says, so do I get some sort of badge to show to all my friends? Well, yeah, I mean, that's all kind of in the works, right? It's all part of the roadmap. You can do the assessment, and then there's like a share to Twitter, Facebook. I don't think Instagram allows it, so you just have to screenshot and say, hey, I took the Collector Investor Spectrum survey on the hobbyspectrum.com, and I'm a 38 precisionist, which is what I am. I scored 38 as a precisionist. Win Mummy here says, winters must be very long in Canada to come up with this. Luckily, I did this all during the summer. Like this was in the summer and the fall. It actually, most of it was in the summer. Yankees fan says, I've done this work with personalities of people. I'm excited for you, JL, and all of us that get to use it. Congrats. Thank you, Yankees fan. I look forward to you doing it. Thank you, Justin Bode. Jeff's Card Dream, glad to hear it. Looks like a great site. I think it is, and I hope it will be for all you guys. Chris says, looking forward to the site. Great way to bring collectors together. No one talks about Card Club. First rule. BW says, when you go to a card show, you'll be able to get a badge with your profile on it. Maybe. Mike had a great idea today, but I'll save that. Let's say that for his podcast. It'll come out in a couple of days. Carl Taylor thinks it's a great idea. I'm so glad you do. Bob Boozle says, I like it. There's a lot of opportunity to grow this thing. I think there is too. Bob says, Jeremy must do 7 versions of SCL each week to appeal to each category of viewer. But what I've thought about is this will be a driver. I won't say will be. I think it has the potential to be a driver of content, both positive and negative, right? I mean, everyone, please welcome Josh Adams to the show. Josh took the assessment, and Josh is he hasn't done it yet. So, but Josh is this and that. And now you have an idea about who Josh is in the hobby. And I think that that's going to be a benefit to people, just to communication, shared language for what is very fragmented right now. I think that'll be helpful. Listen, I know for a fact people are going to make fun of me. They're going to make fun of the profiles. They're going to I know that's going to happen because people love to bring people down. It's just the way the world is. And, you get used to it when you put yourself out there. And so I'm ready for it. World Wrestling says upsell by offering name badges with your name and hobby score. Yeah, merch. I mean, there's lots of potential, I suppose. Situational. Congratulations, Jay Lee. Hope it goes swimmingly. Thank you so much. Situational. What was that, Josh? Oh, you're muted.
I thought of something. I'll wait till you're done. So
you can go ahead and say it. Go ahead.
All right. So there's like that. I only know this because of the crossover last night, but they have this whole thing blessed by Baker for those little stickers, whatever you put on a card. You could have it labeled by Lee. There you go. So blessed by Baker, labeled by Lee. You're set.
But what am I labeling? I'm not. It's you, right? Right. This is just an online assessment that you take, and then you find out what you are. But it depends. Like I think that be proud of your archetype, your profile, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know. I'm proud to be a precisionist. I think that's very apt. And the people who've taken it so far that I've circled back with have all told me that it actually made a lot of sense and that it resonated with them. They think that the assessment got them right. So that was pretty good feedback. The professor says Inferno Red Technology is an award-winning software development firm based in Ashburn, Virginia. This sounds like AI writing this here. They were founded in 2012 as a company built by and for software engineers from their it's from their website. Yeah, Inferno Red's great, and they are hobbyists. That's the thing. These guys at Inferno Red, especially the main guy, the founder, the CEO, his name is Scott. His name is Scott Locke, and he's been doing a series of podcasts with Brett McGrath on stacking slabs. And it's funny because I listened to all these episodes, as I have been since Brett started doing these episodes with Inferno Red. They sponsor his podcast. And I'm always kind of listening to hear if they're going to drop any sort of hint or something that they're working on this project. And I've a couple times Scott has mentioned, or even Ed, who's one of the lead engineers working on my project, have kind of said maybe they've kind of dropped it, but they're very, all about confidentiality and everything. So they're not talking about it, but you can listen to these guys from Inferno Red on the Stacking Slabs podcast. Ed is the lead engineer who's been working the most on building this. And he's a collector. He's on Instagram as a card collector. It's really cool. These guys know the hobby, which made working with them so much easier because they know what this is all about. The real Mike Petty pays. It's a crazy. Jared's a genius. I don't believe you, Mike Petty. He says it's a personality test for card collectors. Yeah, it's almost as simple as that. Rock Latex. Did Joe take the test? He did, and he fell. He didn't fall far left, as he said, though. He fell as a precisionist, which is the third from the left. I think he scored a 40, and I scored a 38. And Midlife Greg, I love passion projects, and I love your passion on this, Jeremy. It's awesome. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. This has certainly been a passion project. I've enjoyed every minute of building it, and it's been a very rewarding project just to get it done, and to see it come to life was super cool. So, Josh, any thoughts? Anything?
I agree with Dan's vintage baseball PC that as long as there's no math, I'm happy to take it. So
there's no math.
To do it, I'll do it for you. That's fine.
Yeah, there's no math. All the math is handled in the background by the system. Like each question has two different sort of scoring aspects, I would say. The first one is what we were referring to as like the gravity of the question. How important is this question to the overall assessment? And so there's different and there's several different gravity levels. And then there's the answers themselves. Like some questions, the score for the first answer might be 0. It might be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be 1, 3, 5, 7. It might be 1, 2, 7, 8. It might be there's all sorts. And that's kind of like the proprietary behind the scenes stuff that I'm not going to share that. I don't think so. Maybe one day. I mean, in the interest of transparency, there might be no reason not to, but there might be. I don't know. Got to think about that a bit more. But the total possible score you can get is well over 100, but then it's normalized down to 100, and that plops you somewhere on the collector investor spectrum. Greg says, my assessment description was extremely accurate. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. That's music to my ears, because while I expect after the first, 50 people do this and I get feedback, what worked, what didn't, that we will have to go do some tweaks. If I don't have to do tweaks, that'd be awesome too, for sure. Justin Bode says he's a precisionist. Bo Howlett likes the idea of it. Thank you. I'm glad you do. Carl Taylor. So how do we get to do it? So for now, you would need an access key, and I have the access keys. And basically, for now, go to thehobbyspectrum.com. There is like a waiting list feature to go in. Right now, I'm sending the codes to people who I know, like in person sort of thing, so that I can get feedback from them. Kind of like an early beta round, if you want to call it that. But get in that waiting list, because I don't think it's going to take long to start opening it up to way more people. Like, I'm telling you guys about it today because it's coming soon, sort of thing. So World Wrestling says, I wonder where the SCR boys fall. They probably won't do it. They'll have a heyday, make fun of this. Will they? No, probably not. Did Joe just leave to catch a surf break? How's the surf, Joe?
It's pretty flat actually at the moment, but hopefully incoming soon.
Situational says money can come from this idea if you, Jay Lee, find opportunities to provide existing company services where this could enhance and make more sticky their customer experience to get this out there, because they can't hear me. Did I just free on you?
Little vortex, yeah, little vortex action. I think you're back though. Are you back? You may not be.
Yeah. Okay. I was just gonna say that more and more people realize it, or the do. I think the better. No, you can't hear me. Can't hear me.
Come see, come saw.
Sorry, Josh. All right. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, guys. But I thought I had that issue fixed. Anyway, yeah. Thanks, Rage. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah. Anyway, no math. The math is all behind the scenes, and I've got lots of ideas for how to just make it useful for people. And please bear with me as we roll those out and we add more depth to the tool itself. So that was my project, guys. That's my project, and I hope you guys like it. You can go to the site, put your email in the waiting list, and also I think in due course, like I said, I'll be able to send out. If you want to send me an email and request an access code, that might be even quicker than going through the waiting list sign up on the site. But again, I don't know when I'm going to get to send them to everybody. But there we go. Any more thoughts on that, Joe, Josh, before we continue on with other discussion? No? World Wrestling Collectible says I'm on the list. Good. Thank you for putting your name in there. Again, we will get it out to you as soon as we can. Still just, working out a few other details on the site, but nothing that is like really has to do with the assessment itself, more just lipstick on the site sort of stuff. But yeah, so I'm excited for it, guys. I hope you enjoy it and it resonates with you. It's thehobbyspectrum.com. Simple as that. Thehobbyspectrum.com is the website, guys. For anyone for Saba who was asking, and anyone else who wants to know, you can go there and again, get on the waiting list. So, Joe, final thoughts on that or any other topic right now? Otherwise, I can go to some comments that came through earlier in the night.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to, now that I've taken it, and yeah, I got a 40, and it's interesting. You and I being friends, we're relatively close in our placements or results on the spectrum. But I'll probably try taking it again and lean a little bit more into this or that. Just there were some questions that really took me a long time to answer, because anytime you're creating descriptors that have some kind of debatable aspect, you're going to have to ask yourself questions and reflect. So just the process of taking it, was interesting, and then it spits out a result as computers are wont to do, which is pretty fascinating. And I'd like to see, obviously we have a lot of hobby friends out there, and so I'm looking forward to kind of just seeing where people fall, because you think somebody, and then maybe they show up entirely differently when you start to conduct this kind of self-interrogation, if you will.
Yeah. And what I've told the people that have done it so far, as you and yourself as well, is like, you got to choose the answer that feels the most right to you. And sometimes that's going to be more challenging than other times. A couple of the questions might seem similar, but they're not. They are each touching on a different psychological axis, or whether it's got to do with motivation, mindset, or behavior. Like, this thing is very scientifically driven and backed. And it's I think it's going to be pretty cool. I hope it's cool. Josh, any final thoughts, or did you bring any topics tonight? You brought a topic last time. Do you bring anything tonight?
I didn't. I was just excited to be on and just kind of see where the conversation takes us. What
about anything from earlier on the show that you were watching? Anything from earlier on catch your attention?
Yeah. You brought up the story of some guy and I don't know how this works. I don't do this, but if you send your cards to PSA, they will offer to buy them from you. Is that how it works?
Or someone who is buying partner of theirs, or is worthy of being a buyer on their platform, will send you an offer. Like, I think people are putting in these offers before cards are even out there, and it's like, hey, I want to offer $75 for a PSA 9 Charizard, let's say. And it's a standing on. It's like an order. It's like a buying order on the stock market. You're putting the order out there and hoping someone's going to come on the other side and fill that order for you. That's what it's like.
How do you get to be a buyer? Like, what's the process?
I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
It's not on their website. I looked as we were getting ready here. My second question is, that whole story is fishy. So this guy. Also, I thought when you get a regrade, you get a different serial number.
Yeah. So these ones did not get different serial numbers, apparently.
They got the same cert number, but a different grade. And then once he called them out, they said, okay, just take everything. Keep the 10s. Like, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
That. I mean,
I don't have those answers. Maybe someone in the chat knows a bit more about it, but I don't know.
I mean, on its face, that sounds shady. Like, extremely shady, right? Like, I'm not being paranoid.
No, I think, we kind of talked about it earlier, but I think there's like, you don't know who you're selling to, No.
My question is that I don't know who I'm selling to, but he sold them and all of a sudden became 10s once they were bought. And then once this guy went public with it, PSA said, okay, you can just keep the 10s instead. like, to me, that's like 1,000 times worse than just selling them and then getting a bump on the grade.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing seems weird. What's
It's interesting.
JWH mean?
Junk Wax Hero.
All right,
Mike
I'll
Junk
check
Wax.
it out.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
There's a whole bunch of videos out there on it, so you can definitely go check that out. Absolutely.
Okay.
Hoff wanted to know, is it multiple choice? Yes, it is multiple choice. Carrie Taylor, are you going to publish the names of where we fall in the spectrum? Well, you can opt into that. So there's also what's called the directory, the spectrum directory, which is basically a listing of people who've opted in to be listed there. Your name, your score, your archetype name, and a social link. Right now it's just Instagram, but it'll build out. And yeah, you can use it to find other like-minded people. It's not about building a social network platform. It's about helping people use the ones they're already on to use them even better. So you might want to reach out to all the people that fall into the same profile as you and say, hey, I'm a fellow hybrid, let's start a group chat, or, what do you collect? Like, just a way to build connections and make this the web of hobby relationships even thicker than it already is, sort of thing. I assure the mummy that I do not work for the Canadian government. But the mummy also says, have a good night, peace out, and then writes, you sus, over and over again. So this seems like somebody who was one of those, would rather just sort of make fun of it. And, because you're probably, I'll just keep my thoughts to myself on that. Thank you, Carl Taylor. I appreciate it. Says, good idea, Jeremy. Great idea. Simon says, I've had PSA make a correction on my PSA slab. It had the wrong year listed and the cert number didn't change. That's a lot different than having the grade number changing than the cert number, unless they meant to change the cert number and they changed the grade instead, maybe. But I doubt that, of course. What else we got here? Oh, PBJ says he didn't get a regrade. It was a reevaluation. Anyone can ask for it before they are fully slabbed. Anyone can ask for PSA to grade your card twice? Because a reevaluation is the grading process again. So I didn't know that. I mean, everyone should do it twice. Unless you get a 10, then you're not going to be incentivized to do it. There's a flaw in that system somewhere, for sure, I would think. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, guys, we can wrap this one up early, unless there's any other, or oh wait, sorry, I had a couple of things from earlier on the show. Let me see what we got here. Mookie Chilson. This was from earlier from Mookie. He says, a hobby drama life cycle rarely ends with a large dramatic, I think we did this, systemic change. The big change is in the increased consciousness of the people who are paying attention. It's our job to make the change. Yeah, we talked about that one earlier. I forgot to unstar it. Let's Talk Football Cards said, with transparency a subject, do you think PSA will ever disclose who's actually making and buying these offers from the vault? To your thoughts there, Josh, who's actually making these offers? With transparency a subject.
Sure.
I don't think they will. I don't think they'll make that transparent. I mean, eBay kind of took the lead by removing, like back in the day, you saw exactly who you were bidding on. Who you were bidding against. You knew. And then they scrambled it and they gave you this, letter, star, star, star letter with your feedback score. And that was the same combination of letters and stars. And then they changed it to scramble that. So now you can only go by feedback. Even then you might not have the same guy twice. My point in that is that lack of transparency on who's on the other side of your transaction, that's the way things are going, not towards transparency. So I just kind of doubt that's going to happen at that point. I just doubt it, but I guess you just never know. Chris C says, what is a reevaluation? Yep. Chris C, what about selling too early? No, Dan the Card Man, that was a topic that Dan was going to bring to the show and he called in sick. So we just didn't get to it tonight, Chris. We'll reschedule it, Dan. We'll get to that one another time. Simon says, if you do a reevaluation on a PSA 10, perhaps you can end up with a PSA 11. They're the only company that doesn't really have an 11, I mean, the other ones sort of have something that's better than a simple 10. Situational Adventure says that CardsHQ can make offers on the so they must be one of those approved buyers on the PSA Vault. Situational says Burbank Cards probably can. Probably is kind of, you just don't know. It's speculation. He says repackers are too. That makes a lot of sense that repackers would want to do that, make offers so they can, because they need that pipeline of product. I don't know where Arena Club gets all their cards from. I mean, they're always offering new repack brands. They just launched on a Giannis brand, like the Great Freak or something like that. I saw. I don't know much more about it, but I've never bought a repack. Oh, I bought one once. The Gong Show guys did a repack. I bought one of theirs. That was it. What do you think, Joe? You're in for the long haul tonight, Joe.
Yeah, just chilling. Yeah, it's I know. Did a golden auction in tonight?
They usually do on Saturday. You buy anything, Josh? You're on mute.
Keep muting myself. No, I'm out of money. I'm like broke for the rest of the year and next year. So, but there's some nice MJs ended.
I was going to ask, did you win something last week?
Yes, I won thank you for asking. I won a Ice Bowl game ticket, which I've always wanted. And then I found a program on eBay, but it's like $700. I'm like, I'll wait. So, but I'm super psyched about it. It's like it's my favorite thing I've gotten in a long time. I'm like really excited about it.
What year was that? What year was the
1967, December 31st.
Wow.
At Lambeau Field, which tomorrow will be another important game. So I'm super excited about that.
Congrats on that, buddy. Seriously.
Thanks. Yeah, I still can't believe it. So
yeah. Very cool. LGC, sorry, that was before. Chris C here said that Jeremy could have a card spectrum specific gathering or card show at the 1 year mark. Yeah, like there's so many things that can be done with it, that I'm sure we'll roll out a bunch of them over time. LGC Josh, what possible laws may have been breached by that Gretzky bait and switch? You familiar with that?
No, what's he talking about?
Here, I'll put it on the screen here. Give me a second. So this right here, Josh, was on the left-hand side. You see the copy of this card that was put on the Cups product marketing solicitations.
Okay.
The card on the left.
Okay.
The card on the right is the actual card that came out of the pack. So a different piece of memorabilia, and the autograph is a disaster on the actual autograph. So the question is and I kind of lost it, but here from LGC, what possible laws may have been breached by that Gretzky bait and switch?
I mean, I don't think there's any laws. There's no warranty or any sort of like promise that's the card you're going to get. I hate to sound like a lawyer, but that's definitely a lawyer's answer. That's just a they could say that's a promotional image for the product. That could have happened in the pack when that could have happened in the pack when the card was put in there. It looks like it's smudged off. That's terrible. What's Upper Deck going to? They're going to like replace the card, or what are they going to do?
Well, we don't. That was the suggestion that was made earlier by myself and others. I think it should be recalled and replaced. Whether it's maybe they just reprint it on next year's Cup run, right? Recall the card, but I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do with it at this point. We just don't know. So. But Greg has a comment for you, Josh. Just because you're out of money doesn't mean you can't buy cards. Don't be a quitter.
I like Greg. He's 100% right.
Dan's Vintage says Golden is one of the auction houses with hidden reserves, in-house bidding, and no rule against employee bidding. Why do we still use them? I don't. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. That's the thing. We don't have to. You don't have to use any company. I know I'm stating the obvious, but one thing that I was thinking about more, Dan, and everybody, was the thought, and this is a kind of a tough one, but hold on, I'm just trying to get the picture off the screen. We can go back to normal here. Like, where do we land on this? If I'm a collector and I get a job offer from an auction house and they're selling a card I want, I'm going to want to buy it, but I'm not allowed to. Like, that's going to maybe stop me from wanting to work there. And that just might be too bad, so sad for you. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that being the answer. I'm not advocating for employees of auction houses bidding on items at auction houses. I don't like that either, Dan and everybody. But I had a conversation with somebody who basically said, like, our employees are passionate hobbyists. They want to buy cards. So as long as they don't know the reserve as long as they don't have access to the bidding, something like that, I forget exactly the wording, then they're allowed to bid on the cards. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I can see the problems with it, guys. Don't get me wrong. But I feel bad for the guy that wants to buy the card if he wants to buy it honestly, with integrity, bidding fairly, no insider information. But that's not the problem. The problem is the perception or the possibility for there to be a conflict. And I get it. And I believe in that. But it's just an angle that I thought about. So, so find cards in another place without obvious conflicts. Yeah, it's really as simple as that, right? It really is as simple as that.
Stuff trumps all, though. Like if there's stuff you want, you're going to buy it. I'm guilty of that too. So I'm not,
You want it, you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
But you're not bidding on 90s auctions items, are you?
No, I'm not at all. Neither is John. So we're not allowed to.
Exactly. Situational Adventures calls the Gretzky card false advertising. Gordon says that it looks like he signed that with his foot after a 40 ounce of vodka, which he writes as vodka. And Hoff signed rookie says promo ad likely stated the cards shown could not be the same as pictured. Yeah, maybe. I'd have to look at it again. Of course it would have said that, right? It would have probably said that. I still don't like it, though. I still don't like it. Hoff says you don't always get the same looking Big Mac shown in the McDonald's ad.
That's true.
No, you do not. No, you do not. And that's the legal angle that they would take if anyone came at them with a claim, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's the legal side of things. What's the right thing to do here? Not only for the customer, for your brand. I think the card makes Upper Deck look bad. I think it's bad for their brand image to let that card be out there. And that card didn't get that way in the collector's hand after leaving it out in the light or rubbing it with a towel. It happened came out of the pack that way. That's just unfortunate. So, yep, Dan goes on. Or is this no, it's the same comment. Yeah, I mean, I'm of the same mindset as Dan is there. But I do have like sort of some empathy for the people that want to buy the cards that they can't. Doesn't mean that if I was in charge that I would say go ahead and bid, though. But there's an auction house that feels okay with it, and it's up to them to let it happen. It's up to you to decide where to buy. Comes back to that. So, well, Josh, anything you want to talk about? Because if not, I kind of feel like the show's run its course at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good show. I was hoping Chris was going to be on because I usually can piggyback off of his thing.
He called in sick too. Him and Dan, the card man, both called. I heard from both of them today, and so we're just going without them, making do with you fine guests as well, and the chat, of course. But here's a question for you, Josh. From fourth of the game, do the Bears wait till late in the fourth quarter to keep the mystical season going?
I hope not, because my heart won't be able to take that. I want them to put them away early. I know it's not going to happen, but I don't like these close games. They're just too much for me. I just can't handle it. So I'm just really nervous. I hope they win tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. So go Bears.
Situational is Joe. Great job staying in the chair all night. Enjoy your evening walks.
Thank you.
Joe's losing steam. Joe, you're losing steam for sure, but that's okay. You had a long day. I know. And he wasn't expected to stay on the show he's up to 160 minutes. He told me 75 to 90 earlier. So he's really pulling his weight and going above and beyond here for the show, which I'm grateful for. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Always a pleasure.
Look at this from Chris C. They got influenza. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Love it. Love it. Well, we can wrap this up then, guys. I mean, this is the first time in over a year because, this Sports Cards Live 2.0 kind of format is 13 months old now. We started this in November of 24. And I don't think we've ever had a show go much under 3 hours. And here we are, just hit the 240 mark on the nose. So, but we can end it now. And you can direct all your blame towards the guys that got sick who couldn't join us.
Right.
I hope Chris is getting a little snicker right now. I have a feeling he might be listening or watching. And if you are, Chris, I hope you got a good laugh and enjoyed the show. And you guys too. So what do you think? Is that it, guys? Is that it? I mean, I kind of feel a little bit incomplete, but also, producer Louis ending early. It seems like we are. Seems like we are, Louis. Seems like we are. We lost steam here. That's okay. Joe had a long day. I've been talking nonstop for 2.5 hours.
I'm just here.
Josh loves to come and hang out on the screen. He's
hanging out.
guy.
Yeah.
Babuza, start planning episode 300 extravaganza. I originally was thinking maybe of using episode 300 to announce the Spectrum, but we're doing it now. We're doing it on 292 instead of 300. There's Chris Hoge. He's taking full responsibility.
Feel better.
Early.
Yeah.
Chrissy says it's a matting game, 9 innings quicker. There you go. The no endurance guys. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, no, we can wrap it up here. Thank you to the chat as always, to Joe and Josh for coming on, to the chat, to all the people who, to Mike at Junk Wax Hero, to Neo and Dan the Cardman, whose videos I shared on the screen earlier tonight, talking about that the PSA 10-9 issue. Thank all the guys who have already helped me with the Spectrums project and building it out. And the 5, I think there's 6 people other than myself who've taken the survey so far and have opted into the directory, which once you guys are in there, you'll be able to see all that. So thank you to them. And Joe, especially for just always being there and talking to me about things and being a great collaborator, giving me his thoughts on things when I was going down the wrong road or bring me back to center, and for the support, Joe, for the support as well. It's means so much to me. So thank you for that. And Josh, you mean so much to me too.
Oh,
Just being you. Thank you, Michael Ham. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, Situational. Carl Taylor. It's Sunday evening here. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend. You too. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend. Yeah, I think we're going off the show. Not a final, just for now, Bob. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting a little emotional not emotional, more sentimental because of just all the help that I've received on the Hobby Spectrum project. I truly am grateful to Chris Hoge, who's been an amazing collaborator of mine as well. Very helpful on all my projects. Great insights. You guys know how smart he is and thoughtful. And so, thanks to him as well. Yeah, guys. But no, we'll be back next week, I believe. Joe, you back next week?
Yeah.
Josh Adams?
Of course, I'm here. Yeah.
Chris Hoge should be back next week. Leighton Sheldon should be back next week. He's an every second week kind of guess. We'll have him back for some vintage talk, of course. And I guess, guys, just expect updates on things from me on what I'm working with on the hobbyspectrum.com, on the Pops and Comps book release. I'll be keeping you guys up to date on that every time I go live, pretty much. And again, go to the hobbyspectrum.com, drop your email into the wait list, and we'll get you in that thing as soon as possible. Absolutely. Oh, you're a great guy, Louis. Thanks to Louis. He's the guy. He's the producer on the Hockey Cards Gong Show, which is the biggest hockey cards podcast. Probably it's the biggest hockey cards podcast without a doubt. These guys are killing it out there. So thanks to them as well. Thanks to the Hockey Cards podcast. Yeah, sorry, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast. Bob Boozle, in case my wife poisons me, it was good knowing each of you. Bob Boozle. Bob Boozle. I'm going to rename the channel to Bob Boozle, I think. Can I do that? Can I rename the channel to Bob Boozle? Thank you, Laura. What a great show. Thank you, Laura, for being here week in, week out. Appreciate you. All right, guys. You guys wait there. Guys, remember, you can get this podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you for tuning in to episode number 292 of the Hockey Cards Gong Show of Sports Cards Live. This is simply Sports Cards Live. Yeah, I guess we're at that point right now where we kind of have some fun. Good night, Justin Bode. Good night to you, where we just say that on behalf of Joe and Josh Adams and the chat, this episode of Sports Cards Live is now
over.
And this episode is now over. Thank you, Yankees fan. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the hobby content out there, and good night.
Thanks for tuning in and being a part of the Sports Cards Live community. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and most of all, keep collecting. More great content to come. Sports Cards is a lifestyle.